Welcome to the Caltex Theatre, a full hour of dramatic entertainment broadcast over a nationwide network of stations throughout Australia. The Caltex Theatre is brought to you by Caltex Oil, marketers of over 1,000 outstanding petroleum products in association with Caltex dealers and distributors everywhere. Tonight, the Caltex Theatre presents Detectives Are Not Always Right, an outstanding new mystery drama by George Batson. On the Hudson River, not far from New York, stands a century-old mansion, once the home of wealthy landowners and the scene of gay parties, now the setting for murder. In the starring role, you will hear Queenie Ashton, your producer, E. Mason Wood. It has been said that all motor spirits are much the same. True, they all consist essentially of hydrogen and carbon, and are known technically as the hydrocarbon compound of petroleum. But there ends all similarity. Super Caltex with ICC and detergent action compound has been proved today's outstandingly superior gasoline. It has been proved in laboratory tests, field tests, and by motorists like yourself in everyday use. Super Caltex gives power, acceleration, pull and performance that you must experience to believe. What's more, there's a mileage bonus in every gallon. Take it from me, all motor spirits are not the same. Exclusive refining and blending processes, combined with specialized scientific research, have enabled Caltex to produce a vastly superior gasoline. Super Caltex, the guaranteed top-octane gasoline. For the best of motoring and the best of gasoline, fill your tank at a Caltex dealer. The Caltex Theatre presents Detectives Are Not Always Right, Act 1.
Why, Louisa, missing the last dance?
Oh, Martha, I simply had to steal away. My feet, my dear. All those dances with David's future father-in-law. I laughed at all his jokes and spent the entire evening talking nothing but tobacco.
I'm sure he'll love that, especially since he's in textiles.
Oh, well, does it matter? They're both so southern.
Eunice is most attractive, don't you think?
Yes, dear, she is. Laugh. Celia has handled the evening magnificently, don't you think?
She always does. She adores to entertain, to play queen of our little set. The decaying Dutch aristocrats of the Hudson.
Martha, you don't think it could be a question of Mr. Kilburn's financial status? This engagement, I mean. You know, it must be so difficult for dear Celia, the carrying on of this enormous old house.
Oh, here you are. Your car's outside, Louisa.
Oh, thank you, David. Oh, dear, now where are my shoes?
How about a brandy?
Why not?
Louisa?
No, dear, no, thank you. I swear from now on I shall always buy my right size in shoes. Well, I mustn't keep that driver waiting. I'll get my things.
David, is anything wrong?
Wrong? No, I'm just on edge.
Well, I'd better get my wrap. And as host, shouldn't you be helping your mother with any straggling guests?
Suppose I should. But they're all so dreary.
Come along, dear.
I'm sorry, Aunt Martha, I've no patience with them.
Hello? Give me 047, please. No? Okay, thanks.
Join me in a drink, Kathy.
Well, and may I ask when the Grangers asked their chauffeur to the party?
None of your business.
Damn.
One of the young masters painting.
Leave that alone.
Well, by all that's... This is you.
Put it down, I tell you.
It sure looks as though his nibs got to first base.
That's not true. I only posed for the face.
I'll bet his mother doesn't know about this.
Oh.
So this is why you've been so busy nights. Wasn't that way when you first came here to work?
What if I did pose for it?
Kathy, how about a little ride later? It's been a long time. I'm suddenly aware...
No, I don't think so. In the first place, you've been drinking.
What's the second place? You got a date?
What if I have?
Come on, this shindig's breaking up.
Well, I won't stay late.
We'll decide about that later.
And for your information, I'm only going with you because somebody needs a lesson.
One of those yokels from the village? You're wasting your time.
Oh, no, I'm not. Don't worry about me. I've got my plans.
I'll be over in the garage waiting.
Maybe I'll come.
You'd better, gorgeous. There's some lost time I've got to make up.
Hello? 047, please. Okay, thanks. You'll learn. Oh, Mr. David.
Hello, Kathy.
Did you enjoy your party, Mr. David?
The Spencers and Mrs. Cortland and the Pettigrews? God forbid.
Your fiancée's awfully pretty.
Think so?
Of course, a girl like that could get any person she wanted. Mr. David, about the picture, my portrait. It gave me an awful jolt just being left there like that.
I'll finish it soon, then you can have it. You're a lovely model, Kathy.
You're really so talented. It seems a shame you can't paint for a living.
It'll take years of study. Anyway, plans have been made. I'm going to be a big textile merchant down where the mint tulips grow.
You don't have many young friends, do you?
Don't forget I've had to take things easy because of my health. At least Mother thought so. My young friends have drifted away.
It takes young people to understand each other.
Kathy, how about going out with me later?
But
I need to talk to someone. Just as you said, someone young.
Pardon me, David.
Oh, yes, Aunt Martha.
My evening back. Oh, yes, here it is. I keep leaving it everywhere.
Do you suppose she heard?
Doesn't matter if she did, not Aunt Martha.
But if your mother...
Please meet me later, Kathy. Let's say in half an hour. I'll meet you in the garage.
Oh, no. No, not the garage. Suppose you pick me up just on the other side of the gate. I'll see your headlights.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks so much.
Kathy,
Yes, Mrs. Granger?
will you see where Mrs. Hampton is? She's not in the kitchen. I've rung her room.
Yes, Mrs. Granger. Right away.
David, don't you feel well?
Oh, just another of those sudden headaches.
Oh, you haven't had one for so long. Dr. Peters thought you looked so well tonight.
It isn't too bad, Celia. I think I might go out for some fresh air.
Well, too much excitement, that's what it is. But I think it's been a most successful evening. Oh, I must say I'm glad I won't be seeing too much of Mr. Kilburn.
That pleasure's reserved for me.
Well, dear, he would go and fall in love with his daughter.
Celia, I'd like to talk about that.
I'm finally ready to go. Oh, David, I'm thrilled about your engagement. But the thought just struck me. When you go off to the south, poor Celia will be all alone in this great barn of a house.
Can you imagine Mother anywhere else?
No. Oh, why should I? It's her home. And the memories. Celia, tonight it was like the old days. I kept remembering your engagement party. Watching David tonight, I had to convince myself that it wasn't years ago and he wasn't but. He is so like his father, isn't he?
Yes, Louisa, very much like him.
And to think that the poor boy wasn't much older than David when he was... when he died.
Is Louisa being morbid?
Oh, I mustn't be, must I, on such a joyous occasion. And I mustn't keep my driver waiting any longer. Martha, dear, would you like a lift?
No, thanks. I have my car.
Very well. Thank you, Celia. David, don't bother to show me out. I'll see you again soon, darling.
Ah, good.
Now, David, Louisa's all right.
She's a museum piece like them all. Oh, Aunt Martha, this archaic little circle. And Celia's become as buried as the rest of them.
Oh, David, dear, not tonight. I'm so awfully tired.
How can this place, these people, mean so much to you? How can you stay in this mausoleum year after year?
I like these people. They're my people. I love it here where I was so happy with your father. Perhaps you're not so much like him after all. Or you'd understand.
You know what I think, Celia?
Because this place was Bart's life, you've taken a stand like the last of the Mohicans. My girl, you've got the darndest guilt complex.
Well, at least this analysis is free.
Well, maybe it's the brandy. But when I think of the gay, alive Celia Brunswick, just look at her now. Content with her garden, her Dresdens, and her memories. Every night climbing up on a ladder to Bart's portrait and polishing his invisible halo.
Yes, dear. It's the brandy.
I remember when we made our debut together. But she was always the glamorous one, David. That there's one thing I beat her at. I've had 3 husbands and got rid of the lot. Although why you never married again, Celia,
Because I've never met another man like Bart.
Oh, well, it's time for me to go.
It's very black out, Martha. You know your eyesight. You ought to stop being vain and wear glasses.
Oh, don't be silly. I read somewhere that short-sightedness gives you sex appeal.
Or better have Marino drive you home in our car.
Oh, again? I've borrowed him so much lately, the handsome brute will think he's working for me.
I'm sure you'll find it more lively. Come along. We'll go and tell him he's driving you home.
Oh, I'm glad they've all gone. I think I'll go to bed.
You do look tired, darling. I'd forget about that fresh air.
You coming up, Celia?
In a minute. I'll look in on you later.
No, don't bother. I mean, if I do get to sleep, you might wake me. Good night, Celia.
Good night, dear.
Good night.
Mrs. Granger,
Yes, Kathy? Oh, what about Mrs. Hamilton?
she's had an accident. She fell or something and hurt her arm. She says she'll be all right if she can just rest.
No.
It's not serious. She said not to worry. Will that be all, Mrs. Granger?
No, as a matter of fact, it isn't. Kathy, I've been thinking this can't be a very pleasant job for you. You're so far away from things up here on the river. It doesn't seem fair to a girl as young as you.
Oh, I find lots to do, Mrs. Granger.
Yes, I'm sure you do. I'm also sure you'd be much happier working somewhere else.
But
I've decided I prefer an older woman, one who wasn't so obviously restless.
I'm a little too young and pretty, isn't that it?
Your looks have nothing to do with it. I'd prefer an older woman, that's all.
Sure, one Mr. David won't be making up to. You think your son won't marry Miss Kilburn if there are other complications. Well, he's not so hot for the idea anyway.
I'll give you 2 weeks' wages, and you will leave tomorrow, Kathy.
Okay, if that's the way you want it. But what's to prevent me from still seeing your son? What's to prevent me from seeing a lot of him? Because he sure likes to see me.
Will you please leave this room?
You're not risking anything that would interfere with your setup, are you? Because the Kilburns are rich and the Grangers are broke. That's why you're marrying your son off. Everybody knows it. But the Kilburns don't. Not yet.
I had no idea you were mentally ill. When you leave tomorrow, I suggest you consult a physician. Good night.
Maybe I've already seen a doctor.
Oh, thank heaven you've got over here at last. The detective's been at me. Mrs. Hamilton, he's been saying, where's Marino? Where's the chauffeur?
I had to get dressed, didn't I?
I still can't believe it. That poor, poor kid. It's horrible. Oh, what a morning to wake up to.
Relax, will you? She's dead, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, where were you last night?
Wherever it was, don't you wish you'd been along? What are you crying about? You didn't like Kathy. I could hear you rowing clear over to the garage last night.
It wasn't a row. I scolded her for not drying the glasses properly, that's all.
Well, last night was your night for picking fights, wasn't it? You've got a sore arm to show for it.
You shouldn't have done it, Earl. You almost broke my wrist.
Well, you should know better than to pick on me when I'm drinking. Anyone would think we were married.
Earl, you don't know anything about it.
What do you mean?
No, she'd tell me how you pestered her. She said you kept after her all the time.
She didn't tell you I pestered her last night, did she?
No,
Then
she...
remember that if the cops ask you.
Do you think for 1 minute I'd do anything to hurt you? In spite of the way you've treated me since she's been here.
What's the detective like?
Oh, he seems all right. It's not the kind you see in the movies, I mean. Doesn't keep his hat on. He doesn't smoke cigars.
I don't wear a hat, Mrs. Hamilton, and I smoke cigarettes. But only when I'm bothered about something. You're Marino.
That's right.
I'm Carlton, county homicide. Mrs. Granger will be down shortly, Mrs. Hamilton?
Yes, sir. She said right away. And she said she'd call Mr. Granger.
It was you that Mr. McWatters awoke, wasn't it, Mrs. Hamilton? Isn't that what you told me earlier?
Yes, when he was delivering the milk about 5:30. I heard him banging on the door. He said she was lying in a heap down by the gate, all smashed. I went to Mrs. Granger's room. She wasn't asleep, so I just knocked lightly.
How did you know she wasn't asleep?
Her light was on. I could see it under the door.
You heard nothing at all during the night?
Well,
Go on.
about 11:30, I did hear a car going out of the garage.
That was me.
Did you hear a car come back, Mrs. Hamilton?
No. When I got to sleep, I slept soundly.
Did yes, Miss Moore. Did she have many friends? In particular, men friends?
I don't think so. I don't think any particular one.
Nobody in the village?
She did go out a couple of times with someone, but she didn't tell me who he was.
Any idea where he lived or where he worked?
No. And if ever she telephoned him or anybody else and I was around, she'd come in here and use this phone. Even though Mrs. Granger wouldn't have liked it. Once I picked up the extension by mistake and heard her talking real sweet to someone.
But you didn't hear any name?
No, I hung up right away. But I knew she was talking to a man.
Well, that'll be all for now, Mrs. Hamilton.
Thank you, sir.
You went out about 11:30, Marino.
Yes, I drove Mrs. Brand home. She was afraid of that fog.
And you came back here?
No. You see, I ran out of liquor. I know of a place in Kingsville where I can get it.
We'll have to know where you were. What time did you get back?
Oh, I'd say about 4.
You didn't see Miss Moore?
No, but I wouldn't have. It was pitch black.
Had you ever gone out with Miss Moore?
No, never. You see, I got a girl in the village.
And you were with her last night?
Yeah, sure.
What's her name?
Rose Coonan, 68 Mill Street.
All right, Marino. That's all for now.
Thanks.
Don't leave the place for a while.
Don't leave. Okay.
A photograph. Celia Granger.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Granger. I'm Dan Carlin, County Homicide.
This has been a dreadful shock. You're sure it was murder?
Sure.
I thought perhaps a hit-and-run driver.
But she was inside the gate, and her head had been struck with a rock. She also had this scarf wrapped round her throat. Mrs. Hamilton said it had been yours.
Yes. I gave it to Kathy.
You don't remember me, do you, Mrs. Granger?
Remember? No, I'm afraid I don't.
No, of course you wouldn't. It goes back many years. Back to the days when you were living in the old house on King's Point. You used to borrow my bicycle.
Then you were...
Yes, I was the grocer's delivery boy after school.
Why, yes, I do recall, but I saw you very seldom.
I got a better job with a tailor. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. Let's get back to business.
You were looking at my photograph when I came in, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Celia?
Oh, come in, dear. David, this is Mr. Carlin. He's from the police. My son, David.
Oh. How do you do? I need a shot of brandy. Don't get the idea that I start every day this way.
Well, this is an unusual day, I'm sure, for all of us. Mr. Granger, did you know about any plans Miss Moore might have had for last night, for after the party?
I? No. What makes you ask that?
I thought possibly she might have said something.
She never confided in me about her dates. I did come in here while she was tidying up. That was all.
And that was the last you saw of her?
Yes.
Very well. Now, I must be getting back to the village. I want to check the coroner's report. I'm afraid I'll be a bit of a nuisance around here for the next few days, but there's nothing I can do about it.
I regret the circumstances, but I have been glad to see you again.
Thank you, Mrs. Granger. Goodbye, Mr. Granger.
Goodbye. He's hardly what you'd expect a hick detective to be.
But there were moments when he was still the grocer's boy.
The what?
When I was a little girl, I used to get anonymous valentines, all lace and hearts. And now, after all these years, I think I know who sent them.
You mean...
I wonder if he's still sentimental. Seems so quixotic in a detective. Oh, David, I take it easy. Brandy isn't the best thing for your heart.
I've got to get through this day somehow.
Oh, you can't let this upset you so. It's frightful, of course, but... Oh, thank heavens it wasn't one of us.
Don't you mean, thank heaven it's Kathy?
David, you've never gone out with her.
No. Why?
You did say you might go out for some air. You could have seen her accidentally.
I didn't go out. No, Celia, I wasn't carrying on with Kathy. Of course, she did pose for this portrait.
Oh, David.
She only posed for the head. You see, it's a copy of a Renoir nude.
Has anybody else seen it?
Eunice saw it last night.
And Eunice believed Kathy had posed only for the head.
Why not? It's the truth.
Darling, you're about to marry an exceedingly trusting girl.
Let's forget about it. Nobody else has seen it, so how can it possibly matter?
Since nobody else has seen it, it won't matter. Now, let's attend to the newspaper men. They're waiting outside. Will you go and show them in?
Yes, of course.
No. Nobody will ever see it. Never, never, never. How fortunate that it's winter. Burns quite quickly. So you're the girl from Miss Hopper's employment agency?
Yes. Nora Taylor's my name. I have the introduction here.
I can't understand, Miss Harper. I told her I wanted an older woman.
I have some excellent
Oh,
references.
it isn't that. I don't believe you'd like it here. You're young, you're pretty. You'd find it much too quiet. All the others have.
But I like the quiet.
You don't know the trouble of breaking in a girl and then having her leave.
But I won't leave. Just because your last
Did
girl
Mrs.
left...
Harper tell you about the last girl?
No.
The last girl was found murdered 2 days ago, just inside the front gate. The murderer hasn't been caught. There's a great deal of uneasiness in the village.
Those things don't happen twice, Mrs. Granger. Anyway, I'm not afraid.
You don't seem the servant type, Miss Taylor.
Won't you at least see my references?
I'm sure they're excellent, but... no. Marino will drive you back to the station. There's a train soon. Naturally, I shall insist upon paying for your ticket. Oh, David, this is Miss Taylor.
Oh?
She was sent by Miss Harper.
That was quick. How do you do?
This is my son.
How do you do, Mr. Granger? Then if you've decided, Mrs. Granger, I'd better go back to the station.
Go back?
I've explained to Miss Taylor that I want someone older.
Why do we have to have someone older?
Because the young girls never stay.
How do you feel, Miss Taylor? Think you'd like it here?
I feel certain I would, Mr. Granger.
Oh. Shouldn't we let her find out for herself? She has come quite a distance.
If only you'd give me a trial, Mrs. Granger. Oh, it's not right appealing to your sympathy, but I do need a job so badly.
Ah, there's a storm coming. We can't send you back in that. What do you say, Celia, eh? Any reason why we shouldn't give her a trial?
But, David,
After all, we do need someone.
Very well, Nora. We'll give you a trial. For a few days, anyway. I'll ring for Mrs. Hamilton, have her show you to your room. She'll explain your duties.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Granger.
You're very welcome.
Yes, Mrs. Granger?
Oh, Mrs. Hamilton, Nora is staying for the time being. Will you show her to her room?
Yes. Yes, certainly, Mrs. Granger. Just follow me.
Thank you.
I've quite made up my mind it would be the best not to keep her.
Because she is attractive.
I want to avoid any repetition of the painting episode.
There won't be, Celia. I promise you.
Thank you, David.
Celia, I want to talk to you about something. It's about Eunice.
Well?
I'm beginning to realize what life with her and her father will be like.
Awfully comfortable and secure.
Mother, you might as well know. I've decided not to marry her.
What's brought on this sudden change of heart?
This thing that's happened, it shocked some sense into me, cleared my vision. I just can't go through with it. Must have been out of my head.
Of course, if you feel that way, there's nothing more to be said.
Except that if I marry Eunice, we'll have enough money to keep this place, won't we? With me a textile executive.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. That doesn't enter into it, and you know it.
But we are broke, aren't we?
Yes.
And we would be able to keep this place.
Yes.
You feel you have quite an obligation to all this, don't you, Celia?
Yes, David, I do. Because of your father. This house represents him, his tradition. To me, it's a trust. That's why I've struggled so to keep it. And since his death, my first obligation has been to you. That's how I've justified everything I've done. Your happiness, your well-being come first. Am I wrong or strange wanting that?
No, you're right, Celia. This is just nerves. Of course I want to marry Eunice. Besides, who else is there to marry?
She loves you, David, and you're not strong. She'll look after you. You'll be set for the rest of your life.
I wish I could be allowed to look after myself, and I wish I could plan my own life, and I wish that I could... Sorry, Celia. These nerves again. Well, I'll go and write to her. Oh, by the way, have you seen that painting of Kathy?
Yes, I have. I destroyed it.
Oh.
You do understand. Because of its implications, Colin might have thought...
That Kathy and I were having an affair, and for some reason I killed her?
David, did you know Kathy was expecting a child?
No.
Colin told me. They found out when they performed the autopsy. So I think it's just as well, dear, that I did destroy the painting.
Yes, Celia, you're right. You usually are.
What is it, Marino? I told you were free for the evening.
That's right, Mrs. Granger. But then the question always comes up, what to do on a free evening?
Well, what do you want?
You know, you're a proud woman, Mrs. Granger. I think I read somewhere that could be a weakness. You're a good-looking dame, too.
Get out of this room at once.
Real shame you shut yourself off like this.
You're through at the end of this week.
Oh, no, I'm not. You see, I've got something to sell you.
Sell me?
Yeah, it's about that painting. The one of Kathy. You know, the one your son did.
You want to sell me that painting?
Now, how could I do that, Mrs. Granger, when you've destroyed it? Don't forget, I do a lot of work in the garden. I can see right in here. Yeah, your son will have to explain an awful lot if the police hear about it.
That painting was done from imagination.
But who's going to believe that? Besides, he and Kathy have been out several times. He was waiting for her just outside the gate the night she was killed. You didn't know that, did you? I saw her get into his car.
I don't believe
She
you.
stood me up. She was going out with him instead. And with a girl like Kathy, why should the picture be from imagination? She was awfully available, if you know what I mean. And then, too, you're destroying it. You'd have to explain that.
The picture has been destroyed. We can deny there ever was any picture.
The picture was partly destroyed. It wasn't burnt entirely.
What?
Don't forget, I also empty the fireplaces. That part's what I got to sell you.
How much do you want?
Well, knowing you're kind of strapped right now, I'll be sensible. Suppose we start at, say, $250.
All right. As long as you leave here at once.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I like it here. I like you, too. And now that we're sharing a secret, maybe we'll get better acquainted.
I shouldn't have done that. It puts me on your level.
Make it cash. I'll be seeing you around. Afternoon, Mr. Granger.
Celia, what did he want?
He was making a clumsy attempt at blackmail.
What? What? I'll go out there
No,
and
David. It should be very easy to cope with Mr. Marino.
And so the curtain falls on Act 1 of tonight's play, Detectives Are Not Always Right, presented for your entertainment by Caltex Oil. In a moment, we commence Act 2. It's double-checked for your protection. Yes, Marfac chassis lubrication is double-checked to ensure that every lubrication point is thoroughly serviced with the correct type and grade of lubricant. Marfac service is carried out in accordance with a special lubrication chart of your particular make and model of car. A chart that not only specifies lubricants in accordance with car manufacturers' recommendations, but shows quite clearly all the points that must be serviced at 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, or at any other stage. Marfac service, exclusive to Caltex dealers, will protect your car wherever your holiday tours or picnic trips may take you. Marfac lubricants ensure double the mileage of an ordinary greasing job. For smoother riding and greater peace of mind, check your car in at a Caltex dealer. The Caltex Theatre now presents Queenie Ashton in Detectives Are Not Always Right, Act 2.
Come inside, Martha. It's getting too cold for the garden.
Well, now you can put those evil-looking things down.
What? Oh, there she is.
Celia, that new maid of yours, you think that's wise?
Nora?
She's awfully pretty, isn't she, bait for the killer?
I feel certain the killer has picked up his tent and moved away.
I saw David with her as I arrived today.
Really?
Incidentally, your mail hadn't been picked up from the post office.
Oh, thank you. Reno should have gone in for it. I'll glance through it if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. That Carlin man came around this afternoon.
I suspected you had something to tell me.
Well, the questions he asked, I didn't like it. Seemed to be prying. I tried to get angry, but he is so unreasonably attractive.
And it is his job, asking questions.
Except that some of them had no bearing on the crime. I mean, what business is of his whether or not there have been any men in your life since Bart?
Oh.
You know, the poor devil has the most awful crush on you.
What else did he ask?
Why do you lead this quiet life? Why do people so seldom see you? I said you were still brooding over Bart's death, still in love with him for all I knew. I also said that you blame yourself for his death, and since you were so full of worship for his ancestors in this house, you felt you were making it up to him. And he knew about your singing in that club. I should have told him the only reason you were doing that was because the Granger Castle was toppling down around your heads and that your husband was too proud to go to work.
Bart had no preparation. The stock market crash in 29 knocked his world from under him.
He was a very young man. He could have...
Well, how different he was from other men.
Well, more handsome, perhaps. If you can afford well-dressed grasshoppers.
That's right, Martha. You did find him very handsome, didn't you? And you could have afforded him. Seems a shame.
Celia, I didn't have a chance with you around. Well, I mean, all of us had a crush on him in those days. And all of us knew when he married, it would be you.
Well, at least the others have forgiven me. What else didn't you tell Mr. Carlin?
Oh, not a thing about David. He beat about the bush, but I knew what he was driving at.
You might tell me.
Why was he a chaser after women, of course? I told him I'd never had an occasion to find out. After all, the boy called me Aunt Martha.
What he really was driving at were David and Kathy friends. Wasn't that it?
In general. And I kept remembering that Bart had the dirt of the temper. David could have inherited...
There's nothing unusual about David's temper.
Those headaches, what about them?
He hasn't had one in months.
What caused them?
Nerves. Lately I've begun to realize that they were probably brought on by his resentment of this place.
No, I'm sorry, Celia. I shouldn't talk like this. I'm just so rattled since this thing happened, and I can't forget that David did ask Kathy to go out with him that night.
What night?
The night she was killed. I'd forgotten my evening bag. I came in to get it, and they were making plans.
Oh, you must be mistaken.
Well, I heard them, I tell you. Oh, I won't tell Carly. What difference does it make? She was very pretty. He was only human. Well, Sidney, what is it you're as white as a sheet?
I'm all right. Just this whole business has been such a strain.
I took it for granted he hadn't kept the debt. I mean, he didn't go anywhere with her, did he?
I don't see how he could have. David and I were talking in here until 2:30 that night. Then I looked in on him a little later, and he was fast asleep.
Well, that would seem to take care of that. Wouldn't it?
I told you the truth about that night, about Kathy.
You said you didn't leave the house that night.
I didn't. Nor do I have to repeat and repeat. If Colin thinks I did it, why doesn't he come right out and arrest me?
Oh, it's suddenly very cold in here.
Celia, you don't think I killed Kathy, do you?
Why, how extraordinary. This letter, I can't make it out.
Oh, what is it?
It's from the Harper Employment Agency. It says, they regret being unable to find a suitable servant immediately, but will notify me as soon as they do.
What? Oh, I don't get it. Laura said they'd sent her. Didn't she have a slip from them?
As a matter of fact, she didn't show me anything. Yes, she said she had the introduction someplace, and I told her not to trouble. David, who do you think did send her?
Don't you think maybe your friend Carlin?
A girl like that? The police?
Of course a girl like that. Complete with sob story to throw us off the track.
I'm going to call her in here and demand the truth. No, perhaps that wouldn't be wise. Especially if you're right. Things have got to go on as if we didn't know. She's got to see that we have nothing to hide. At least until we do find out why she's here.
Again, you're right, Celia. I won't let on.
Oh, here's Mr. Carlin. Come in, Mr. Carlin.
Hello, Mr. Granger.
Oh, hello. Excuse me, I'll put these shears away, Mother.
He means a lot to you, doesn't he?
Of course.
Because of your husband, maybe? Mrs. Brand said you had some notion that you were responsible for your husband's death.
Yes, I'm sure she did.
But she didn't tell me why.
That surprises me. Oh, it's no great mystery. You see, Bart and I had lost nearly everything. I was trying to help. I had one asset, social position. Meant a lot in those days. I endorsed cold cream, cigarettes. Finally, even sang in a nightclub. Bart resented all these things. Seemed almost jealous of them. The night he was killed, we'd had a quarrel, a violent quarrel. Saying ugly things, hurting each other the way you can hurt only someone you love. I should never have gone to New York that night.
Why do you say that?
He was speeding in to find me when it happened. We never could be angry with each other for long. When I finally saw him, it was as though he'd been hanging on until I could get there. But he managed to look up at me and whisper that he was sorry and he loved me. Oh, I wish I had that night to live over.
No matter where he was going, it was an accident. The car overturned.
I've told myself that 100 times. It can't wipe out the memory.
You need someone else to tell you. To make you forget.
Oh, well, things have a way of working themselves out.
Oh, no, Mrs. Granger. We've got to work things out ourselves. I'm sorry. Where do I get my nerve telling people how to run their lives? Anyway, that isn't why I'm here. It's about your chauffeur, Marino.
Marino? Yes, I sent for you about Marino.
I think he's our man. Some things have turned up. He has a prison record, #1. He served time for assault. A girl. Lately, he's been going with a woman in the village. She's broken with him because he's beaten her up a few times. She was his alibi the night of the murder.
Was his alibi?
She's changed her tune. She now says she didn't see him at all that night.
I sent for you because he's been threatening me. Vague, absurd threats. He said he'd make trouble for David and me. I don't know what he planned to do, Then he tried to make love to me.
You should have sent for me immediately. Where is he now?
I sent him into the village just a few moments ago.
Well, we'll pick him up, so there's no need to worry.
You've been very kind. If this does close the case, I want you to know how much I've appreciated your consideration.
Well, just routine, Mrs. Granger. And I want you to know that, regardless of the grim circumstances, how pleasant it's been meeting you again. You did mean it when you said you remembered me.
How could I forget? Bicycle rides were a great event. I'm a little sorry it was outgrown them.
Not half so sorry as I am.
It's not fair. I get the impression you know so much about me, and I know nothing at all about you.
Oh, me? I'm just the guy from the other side of the tracks, 30 years later.
There's more to you than that, Mr. Dan Carlin.
Maybe it's my determination to cross those tracks, the quickest way. Oh, no comfortable in-between spot will do. I want the heights. Up here with people like you. All or nothing. I've got a wall to knock down.
A wall?
There's always been a wall between me and the things I've wanted.
Mr. Carlin, you've never married.
No.
Don't women fit into this plan of yours?
Oh, there have been women, but not the woman. You see, I've got my eye on the heights there, too. Well, I'd better be running along.
Goodbye, then.
It's funny how things turn out. Years ago, I used to think of you as the princess in the tower, and I was your knight, hell-bent on saving you from wicked old King John. Oh, damn it, I suppose you've got to be told, sooner or later. I used to send you valentines. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Dan Carlin.
Pardon me, Mrs. Granger.
Yes, Mrs. Hamilton?
What time shall we be having dinner?
Oh, about 7, I think.
Very well, ma'am.
Tell me, how is Nora working out?
So far, I've got no complaints. And she's not sneaking in here to the phone all the time. But
Yes, what is it?
it's Marino. You know how he gets with all of them. The pretty ones, anyway. I was thinking maybe if this time you warned him ahead of time, well, maybe he'd leave this one alone.
Don't worry about Marino, Mrs. Hamilton. I don't believe any of us will be having any more trouble with him. Who is it? What do you want, Marino? What's the matter, man? What do you want?
Back. My back.
What? Oh, the shears! In his back! The shears! Darling, I thought you were going to get some sleep.
How do you expect me to sleep or rest? I know it's more than 24 hours since Marino. Have you seen what the papers are saying about us tonight?
Poor Dan Carlin. According to them, I've either bought him off or bewildered him with my particular sorcery.
It's a good thing nobody knows Marino was trying to blackmail us.
Carlin does. I told him yesterday afternoon.
Why did you do that?
I had to. He was going to arrest Marino. I knew he'd talk. I had to protect you.
That's all you ever think of, protecting me. Celia, there's something I'm going to tell you.
Is there, David?
Kathy and I did go out that night. I realized what a mistake it was to marry Eunice. I had to talk to someone who was sympathetic, who'd listen and understand.
That's where I let you down, isn't it?
It isn't your fault, Celia.
You don't have to tell this at the inquest. Nobody saw you. Marino said he did, but he can't do any harm.
Somebody did see us. Someone else.
David!
It was almost 3 when Kathy and I got back. Before we came to the gate, my lights picked up the outline of a car, parked on the other side of the road. I couldn't make out anything but the outline in the fog. But Kathy knew who it was.
Did she tell you?
No, she just said, "Oh, so he came after all." And when I asked if she wanted to get out and talk to him, she said no. But he had to be taught he couldn't treat her like dirt. That he could stay there all night for all she cared. But, well, I've been afraid to tell anyone.
Oh, that could be my fault. I'm to blame for so much, trying to force a way of living upon you. I thought it was the right one. Now I see that it hasn't been right, not even for me. Useless living for the dead when there's so much else. You once asked for your life to live, David. Well, finally, it's yours.
And you agree that tomorrow I must tell about that night?
Of course you must. In the meantime, your mother shall be playing detective. David, look at this scribbling on the telephone pad and this number here. Does it mean anything to you?
Why, no. What's it all about, Celia?
It's a number Kathy wrote on the pad. I don't know what it's about, but I'm going to find out.
But how...
Darling, Mrs. Hamilton wants to go into the village. Would you run her in, please?
Yes, all right, Celia.
Now. Hello? Hello. Operator, is there any way you can tell me whose number 047 is? There isn't. Well, would you give me that number, please? Yes, 047. Hello? Is Mrs. Johnson there? Why, what number is this, please? Hello? Hello? Oh, no. No.
Mr. Granger, will you want anything more tonight?
No, thank you, Nora.
Do you think your mother would?
No, I don't think so. Go to bed if you want to.
Well, I didn't get much sleep last night.
Worried about the murderer, Nora? Any ideas who it might be?
No. But I knew nothing about either of the people who were killed.
I suppose the murderer could be any one of us. People are so seldom what they seem, even you. You appear young and timid and so very appealing, but I wonder, couldn't that too be a disguise? Some sort of shabby deception?
Then you've known about me.
A letter came from the employment agency yesterday, saying they were sorry they hadn't been able to send anyone. But what the devil are you? A policewoman? Someone from a newspaper?
Oh, just someone desperate, that's all. I was at the agency when they were interviewing people. Miss Harper said I was too young. I was so anxious to get away from the city, I decided just to come anyway to pretend.
Why were you so anxious to get away? A man?
I didn't want to see him anymore. And he wouldn't leave me alone. Oh, it was my fault. I pretended I liked him. I'd been in that orphanage, as I told you. Then one dreary job after another. I thought a little security, some comfort and affection would be worth... I'll tell your mother in the morning. Then I'll clear out.
Nora.
Yes?
Talk to Mother in the morning, but I don't believe there'll be any question of your leave, if you still want to stay.
I still want to stay.
Good. Perhaps we can make up to you for some of the bad things you've had in your life. Look, I have to go to the village and pick up Mrs. Hamilton. How about coming along for the ride, eh?
Should we leave your mother alone?
Oh, there's a policeman at the gate, and we'll be right back. You're good to get out of the house.
Yes, I'd very much like to go.
Good, then go and get your coat.
Yes.
I'll meet you at the garage. I'll go on down.
David? David? Oh. David, is that you?
No, it's me.
I thought I heard a car.
Well, not mine. I parked it down the road a bit. I wanted to walk, look around the grounds. You're looking very lovely tonight.
Thank you.
The crowd's been bothering you today?
There were people down by the gate. They only went when it got dark. I could sense their hostility. I've become a witch in a castle. And they think I did it.
Well, next time your chauffeur gets murdered, see that you're a few miles away from the crime, not just a few feet.
Not very lucky in our murders, are we? How extraordinary that Kathy left no address book, no letter.
There was nothing. I went through her room myself.
Kathy did leave something.
Oh?
She'd known someone in the village. Someone in particular.
So far, he hasn't volunteered to identify himself.
That's why I think he's guilty. He had the telephone. Kathy called him often.
But how can we trace her call?
Very simple. You see, I had the number. She had a habit of scribbling while she used the phone in here. Among her scribbling, there was a number repeated.
Could be just the grocery store.
No, besides, in addition to the number, she wrote a name.
That makes it easier. Yes, I guess you do have something, Mrs. Granger. May I see the scribbling?
Here's the pad.
Thank you.
You should have looked at it before you threw it on the fire.
I know what it said.
I lied. There was no name.
It wouldn't have mattered, as long as the number was there. I figured something was up when you phoned earlier. I recognized your voice.
Why did you do it?
Kathy tried to latch onto me. She wanted security, respectability, and I was to be the fall guy. She knew I was ambitious and thought she'd go along for the ride. She told me about the baby. Said if she had to, she could prove it was mine if I didn't marry her.
Killing her.
I wasn't going through a life with her tied on my neck. But when I got this far, what place did she have in my scheme of things?
When you told me about your ambitions, I never dreamed you were...
Crazy? Go and say it. I don't mind. Because I'm not crazy. There's one straight line I'm following, right up out of the gutter. I'm knocking down that wall I told you about.
And Marino. Why did you kill him?
Evidently he'd been playing around with her, too. He went to her room that morning before we got here. She did keep a diary. My name wasn't mentioned, just an initial. We found something I'd forgotten about, a snapshot taken in an amusement park the first night I'd gone out with her.
So he tried to blackmail you, too.
He hadn't left for town the other afternoon. When I found him in the garage and told him I was taking him in, he played his ace. I stabbed him with the shears. They deserved what they got, both of them.
How could you possibly expect to get away with this? You knew something would turn up, something that would destroy you, your ambition.
It hasn't destroyed me, nothing can.
How can you avoid it?
By doing what I don't want to do. What has to be done?
Don't be ridiculous.
Oh, if only things had worked out for us. If only...
David! David!
Your son's not here.
Nora!
The maid's not here either. She went out a while ago with your son. That was the car you heard. I was outside, waiting. You're all alone.
The policeman at the gate. He knows you're here.
No, he doesn't. I came by the path of the cliff. No, you don't. There was a place for you in my scheme of things. It could have been so right, you and me. I needed you. I've always needed you. But you're not even listening.
You don't care anything about me.
Celia, I've always loved you.
Another stepping
Oh,
stone.
don't you see? You've been part of the dream.
Dream? Yes, I've been in a dream, too. But I'm facing reality now, thanks to you. You had me fooled as you fooled everyone else. The self-made man with his rugged charm, his simple honesty, his strength. So different from any man I'd ever known. Yes, Mr. Carlin. I think you should know. I was beginning to find you very attractive.
I love you. You've got to believe
If
that.
you do, prove it. Go away. Give yourself up.
No, I'll never do that. I can't now. I am strong with the strength to see this through. I'm playing at the same. All or nothing. Like it's always been.
I tell you, your luck's run out. Don't be a fool. You'll never get away with it.
I can't stop now. I've gone too far to stop.
Help!
Don't scream, please. Don't scream. It won't take long.
If you love me, how can you do this?
Because now you're just like them. You're in my way.
Celia! Celia! Are you all right?
David! You see, it is too late.
All right, Carly, all right. You better go quietly. Your policeman's all set to take you.
No, thanks. I'm going another way.
Colin, stay where you are. Don't run upstairs. It won't help.
Celia! All or nothing!
Steady, Norma.
Oh, that window above the cliff!
Celia. Celia, are you all right?
Yes, David. I'm all right. All or nothing.
ends our Caltex play, Detectives Are Not Always Right. In a moment, we will give you tonight's cast and tell you about next Sunday's Caltex play. Enjoy all the power and performance benefits your car has to offer. Fill your tank with Super Caltex gasoline and change the oil to RPM 1030 Special. You'll hear and feel an immediate improvement. Yes, from the moment you touch the starter, you'll know why this grand team is acclaimed as the greatest gasoline motor oil combination on the road. Super Caltex and RPM 1030 Special are the result of a special refining and blending process. And because they work in complete harmony, they ensure greater engine efficiency no matter what the conditions may be. Before you leave on your holiday tour or picnic trips, see a Caltex dealer. And wherever your travels, watch for the famous Caltex staff, because there you will find the men and the products that take better care of cars. Ladies and gentlemen, the producer of tonight's Caltex play, E. Mason Wood.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Detectives Are Not Always Right was adapted for radio by Richard Lane from the play Celia, written by George Batson. In the starring role you heard...
I was Celia Granger.
This was Queenie Ashton. The supporting roles in this play were as follows. David Granger was played by Roger Klimpson. Dan Carlin, the detective. Kenneth Warren. Martha Brand, Sheila Stewart. Louisa Cortland, Rita Pornsford. Kathy, Amber May Cecil. Marino, Ken Wayne. Mrs. Hamilton, Ruth Cracknell. Laura Taylor, Pat Crocker.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Next Sunday night in the Caltex Theatre, you will hear the ribald comedy success, It's Different for Men, the saucy story of two schoolmasters who are rivals for the headmastership of a co-educational school. The result of the contest brings unexpected complications and the situation becomes hilarious. Be listening to For Smilin' Through and Three Men on a Horse, outstanding future productions in the Caltex Theatre. Now, this is your compere Rick Hutton bidding you good night on behalf of your hosts, Caltex Oil, marketers of Super Caltex and Caltex gasolines, the world-famous RPM 1030 Special Motor Oil, and Marfac Chassis Lubrication. Welcome to the Caltex Theatre, a full hour of dramatic entertainment broadcast over a nationwide network of stations throughout Australia. The Caltex Theatre is brought to you by Caltex Oil, marketers of over 1,000 outstanding petroleum products, in association with Caltex dealers and distributors everywhere. Tonight in the Caltex Theatre, you will hear Four in Hand, an amusing story of two men and two women who learn through a series of mix-ups that love, friendship, romance, and peace of mind are not easy horses to drive. Four in Hand. Starring tonight, you will hear Aileen Britton. Your producer, E. Mason Wood. The Caltex Theatre presents Four in Hand, Act 1.
Had a nice stroll, Clive?
No. Too damn many birds singing. There's a blackbird out there who's positively insolent.
Bored again.
Not again. This is the same boredom I'd have ever since we came to her sister's house. Why can't we play bridge or something?
Oh, later. Come and look at the family album. Wouldn't you like to see what I looked like when I was 10?
I'd loathe it.
Oh, look, that's a group from the fourth form at St. Mary's.
Revolting. This one says, Janet, aged 7 on a swing.
Yes. Oh, that's father pushing me. He was so intent on smiling at the camera that he didn't notice the return of the swing and had knocked out his front teeth. Oh, that's me and Diana. You wouldn't think we were sisters, would you?
I don't know. You both have your dear mother's expression of low cunning. Is Diana in the music room of the infant prodigy?
If by infant prodigy you mean Gordon, she is. He's finished the first movement of his concerto and Diana wants to hear it.
Damn quiet concerto. Couldn't be capriccioso, could it? What's Diana up to, eh? Manhunting?
Gordon was invited here so he could compose his music in peace and quiet.
Confound it, Diana couldn't tell the difference between a Bach fugue and the Three Blind Mice. Now she's suddenly become an addict just because she's met this young composer.
Well, that's her affair.
She's doing her best to make it one.
Oh, nothing of the sort. She's madly in love with him and wants to marry him. He's rather sweet.
Naive is the word. I suppose he thinks vital statistics have something to do with the cost of living. However, Diana will soon enlighten him.
Oh, Clive!
Damn it, she's twice his age.
She's 30 and he's 23. And what about you and me? You're 42 and I'm only 28.
Altogether different. I'm a terribly young 42 and you are an aging 28.
Clive! You think you are a terribly young 42. You look 62 when you take that dinky little belt off your tummy.
Janet, you're on sacred ground.
Well, you're being disagreeable about Diana. And I know why. It's just because she won't sell you that picture you've been pestering her for.
She knows nothing about Lautrec, but she knows I'm keen. If I'd thought she was going to be so obstinate about it, I wouldn't have let you persuade me to come down here.
Now you are here, why not make the best of it?
There isn't a best of it. I'm going back to town. There's simply nothing to do here.
Oh, there must be something. Why don't you go and shoot some rabbits?
Because I'm in no urgent need of rabbits. I've played billiards with myself. I've played patience with myself. I've done every crossword in the house. I've watched Diana's gardener mow the lawns. I've drunk beer in the local pub and met men who told me all about ticks. And I'm still itching. Diana or no Diana, we're going back to town.
Oh, I can't let Diana down like that. We may get away quite soon.
Oh? As soon as Diana gets her man.
That's a crude way of saying it.
Sorry. Ah, you're quite right. You and I should do everything in our power to bring those two admirably suited persons together.
Hello, darlings. Sorry to have left you so long.
Don't worry. I found something new and exciting to do. Sit in the churchyard and watch the ivy climb the clock tower.
Far too energetic at your age.
Oh, stop it, you two. We were looking at the old family album. Look at you at 10 years old.
Fantastic.
Clive.
Oh, here's me again in my first party dress. Oh, how well I remember it.
What a memory. I say, these memories are horrible. What about some bridge, eh?
When Gordon gets back. He's gone for a walk. He wanted a breather.
Which way to go?
By the river, I think.
All right. I'll go and meet him. And don't either of you move till I get back.
What's biting him?
Oh, nothing. Clive's a bit sick of the country. Wants us to leave in the morning.
And leave Gordon and me in the house together? Oh, no, you can't do that.
Oh, of course not. But Clive is a prey to sudden ideas, you know. Behaves oddly now and then.
How?
Well, the latest idea is I should have a baby.
Might be a good one, too. Might steady you two up.
What do you mean?
Oh, darling, you can't deny the fact that things between you two are a bit rocky. I mean, you do quite a bit of snapping at one another.
Oh, nonsense. Clive and I are on the best of terms. If I do go in for children, it'll be because Clive wants me to.
Reason enough.
Anyway, it's pretty comic hearing you talk. You're not a very good exponent of domesticity.
I know, dear. Men don't expect domesticity from me. I wish they did. It's far less exhausting.
Oh, there you are, ladies.
Feeling better, darling?
My word, yes. Where's Clive?
Oh, don't tell me he missed you. He went by the river.
Oh, I came the other way.
Oh, be an angel and go and fetch him.
Of course. By the river?
Yes.
And if he's thrown himself in, don't pull him out.
Yes, of course. No, of course not, that is.
Isn't he adorable?
It's almost incredible that anyone so young could write such wonderful music.
Everyone says he's going to be really good in time.
Diana, Gordon's not like other men you've known. You could hurt him horribly, not only him, but his music and his career. That's important, Diana. You see, if you make him fall in love with you and then dump him after a month or two...
Why should I?
Well, you know you do. Clive says you work with men to a timetable, like the railways, you know.
All right, I admit it. But this is different. I adore him, Janet. He's the one man I've been waiting for all my life. This is the real thing at last. It happened to me. Really happened to me.
I'm so relieved. What about Gordon? Does he feel the same?
Well, it's hard to say. He's so absurdly shy.
Has he said anything?
Not yet, but he will. Oh, Janet, I can't tell you how thrilled I am. It's time I settle down. It'll be a wonderful life, the wife of a famous composer. They get a tremendous fuss made over them, you know.
Oh, but Diana, it surely isn't just because of that.
Oh, no. Truth is, Janet, I'd love him like blazes, and I'd continue to do so if he never wrote another note.
Well, that's certainly a weight off my mind.
Where is he?
Oh, you haven't missed him again.
I don't think that's funny.
Oh, sit down and calm yourself. I'll go and find him. And don't quarrel while I'm gone.
You know something, Diana? This Lautrec painting is quite wrong in here.
I like it where it is.
You know, I could let you have a utility that would be perfect in this setting, if you let me have this one.
I couldn't do that, Clive. It was my husband's favourite. I keep it in memory of him. Do you mind me being a little sentimental?
No, I admire you for it. I might go another 500.
It's not a question of money, Clive. If I could bring myself to part with it, I'd give it to you.
I'm sure you would. Charming young fellow, young Gordon.
Isn't he?
He's got a sublime faith in woman and all she stands for.
Yes, hasn't he?
Isn't it horrible to think that someday someone is going to disillusion him? Someone who let fall a careless word and shatter all his beliefs.
Someone like yourself? Now you listen to me, Clive.
I do wish you'd sell me that picture.
You devil.
Do think it over. Meantime, I'll exert myself to sustain Gordon's belief in women generally, and to increase his admiration for one woman in particular.
Yeah.
Where the devil did you get to, Gordon?
Well, I was looking for you.
Well, we're all here now. I'll get the cards.
How's the masterpiece coming along?
Well, I'm on the slow movement now, but well, it's coming rather slowly.
The good things never come easily.
If it is good.
Of course it's good, Gordon. You must have more confidence in yourself.
Well, that's not so easy. When I think that only 6 months ago I was living quietly with my aunt in Tunbridge Wells, and now all this.
Diana must meet your aunt one day.
Oh, yes, you'd like her. I don't know what I'd have done without her. She's not well off, of course, but she's spent hundreds of pounds on me and my music. I really owe everything to her, even being here and knowing you people, if it comes to that.
He's right, you know.
Nobody says he isn't.
One never knows what's in store for one.
He's right, you know.
Even now, I can't get used to seeing my name in the papers and hearing people talk about me.
Oh, you'll get used to that. Diana has, haven't you, dear?
I thought you wanted to play bridge.
You know, I like this room. It must be very pleasant to live here.
Diana doesn't know how lucky she is. Do you know, if I wasn't married to her sister, I'd be making up to Diana myself so I could live here. Now, if I were your age, Gordon,
Get the chairs, Clive.
I'll help.
I was thinking, Diana, I suppose one of these days you'll be marrying again. What a lucky beggar he'll be. This house, plenty of money, a woman who's as sweet-natured as she's lovely.
Oh, Clive, stop talking like an auctioneer.
That's most amusing. My trouble is I never know when you people are serious or joking.
No, that's easy. When we're serious, we're joking. When we're joking, we're serious.
Oh, but you really are different.
Nonsense, Gordon. We're just like other people underneath.
With that gown on, Diana, he can see that for himself.
Are we going to play bridge?
Oh, may as well, though Clive gets irritable. How do we play?
I'll have Diana. She's a disgusting little cheat, so I may as well have her with me as against me.
I hope you'll make allowances. I've rather got that music on my mind.
Be a good fellow and forget your music.
You know, it sometimes happens in the middle of the night. Sometimes when I lay my head on the pillow, wait a minute. I've got it. Please excuse me. I shan't be long.
Well, that's the shortest rubber I've ever played.
Silly fathead.
Oh, now, don't lose your temper. He'll be back in a minute.
Willie, as far as I'm concerned, he can go to blazes. Janet, I said we'd leave in the morning. Get packed. We're going now. I'm off.
Oh, I suppose I'll have to go and quieten him.
You'd better take a hammer.
No.
Oh, Janet, use your wits. Cry on the side of the bed and say he's humiliated you in front of me.
No, I used that last week when he said he wouldn't come down here. No. I think I'll be calm and white-faced, sort of anxious inside because I'm worried about his blood pressure.
Say that he used to be so kind and considerate, but now he's difficult to live with.
And then I'll say he must be tiring of me, and I'll ask him frankly if it's another woman. Yes, I'll do just that.
Diana, I got it. Just a small change was needed. Have they all gone? I suppose I shouldn't have chased off like that.
Don't worry, darling. Come and sit down here beside me on the settee.
You're most awfully kind.
Oh, no, I've done nothing.
Oh, you've been wonderful.
Don't be standoffish, Gordon.
Am I? Oh, Lord.
If you lack confidence, you'll miss all sorts of pleasant things. Things that are yours for the asking.
Do you think so?
Gordon, what is it you want more than anything to complete your happiness?
Surely you know. It's obvious.
Tell me just the same.
To write really good music.
But you can't just write music day and night. One must play as well as work.
Oh, yes, of course. One must do other things.
Such as?
Go
on, darling.
Well, I used to be pretty hot at swimming and boxing.
How nice.
I've got some trophies, cups and things at home. I'd like to show you them sometime.
I'd love that.
Good. Swimming is one of the finest of exercises, you know.
Yes, dear. Gordon, would you get me a drink and have one yourself? A good, strong one?
Of course I'll have a nip with you, but you know I'm not very used to all this drinking.
Oh, aren't you? A little more, don't you think? Don't be afraid of it. That's better. Oh, Gordon, I shall hate you leaving here. I get terribly lonely sometimes.
You? Lonely?
Yes, at times it's unbearable.
I wonder if I could put that right for you.
Oh, Gordon, if only you would.
You wouldn't think it was a cheek.
Oh, darling, of course I wouldn't.
Well, if you'll let me, I'll buy you a dog.
Oh.
I'll get you a dog tomorrow.
Oh, Gordon, don't stand by the drink wagon all night. Come and sit down again.
I think I'll get a spaniel.
Well, don't sit there, dear. Come and sit here by me on the settee.
Of course. Thank you.
You're not shy with me, are you?
Well, a little, perhaps.
Why?
Well, I suppose because you're so beautiful and everything.
Give me that glass. You don't want it. I'll put it on the table. There. So you think I'm beautiful?
Oh, yes, I think you're one of the most beautiful women I've ever met.
Go on.
Of course, I haven't met many.
Oh.
Well, where are the others? I hope I haven't offended them.
No, of course not. What were we talking about? Oh, I know. Gordon, I want you to feel quite at home here. You know, I sort of feel you feel shy. I think, in fact, you rather put me on a pedestal. You shouldn't. I'm really quite an ordinary woman. In fact, quite a weak and helpless woman.
Oh, no.
Believe me, darling, I am.
Oh, no.
Yes, Gordon, quite definitely.
Oh, no.
But I am.
No.
Well, we won't argue about it. What are your plans when you leave here?
Well, I'll go back to my aunt's, of course.
Oh, no. I mean, why?
Well, it's my home.
You could make this your home.
Oh, I couldn't impose on you, and that's what it would be. And then my aunt would miss me.
Well, I'm going to miss you, too, and I'm hoping you will miss me.
Oh, I shall.
Oh, so you do like me a little, then?
Of course.
We do suit one another, don't we? I felt it right at the start when we first met. Oh, darling, my heart seemed strangely uplifted. It was like emerging from a dank and dark wood and finding yourself in a beautiful sunlit clearing.
Good gracious, was it?
Yeah, that's not all.
Isn't it?
When I heard your voice, although we were meeting for the first time, I had a feeling that I'd always known we were going to... Do you understand?
Vaguely.
Well, I could see you felt the same. There was a look in your eyes. Let me see. Oh, yes, darling, it's there now. A kind of glowing warmth. Now tell me, what do you see in my eyes?
All sorts of things.
Tell me.
Now?
Clive's packing.
Oh, blast.
I can't do a single thing with him leaving.
Oh, nonsense, Janet.
Is something the matter?
Oh, Di, will you go and see what you can do?
Well, I suppose I must. Now, Gordon, don't run away.
Is Clive really leaving?
Yes, He said the moment our bags were packed, we wouldn't see him for dust.
That doesn't mean you must leave, too. I couldn't bear it. Darling.
Oh, Gordon.
Darling.
You've gone mad. Oh, kissing me like that.
Oh, I love you with all my heart, Janet. I've worshipped you from the moment I set eyes on you. Do you mind?
Well, when a man grabs a woman like you did me and arms pinned to my side, no hope to struggle even, I'll not commit myself at this stage.
Oh, Janet, you're so beautiful, so wonderful. Why, the very instant I met you, a new world opened before my eyes. It was like coming out of a horribly dark wood into a beautiful sunlit clearing.
Oh, my poor boy.
When you spoke, although we were meeting for the first time, I had a feeling I'd always know we were going to.
Going to what?
We're going to meet.
Oh, for a moment you had me worried.
Oh, Janet, I love you with every breath of my body.
Oh, honestly, Gordon, this is too fantastic.
Fantastic that I should dare to love you.
Oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. I appreciate the honor you've done me, but there's one little drawback. I have a husband.
Oh, he'll get over it.
Get over what?
Well, you're leaving him. You could, you know.
Oh, certainly. I can't think what's stopping me.
Well, he's not the man for you.
And I suppose you are.
Yes.
I thought you were too modest. Oh, give me a drink, for heaven's sake.
Must I? You do drink rather a lot, don't you?
Well, that's wonderful. In one breath you suggest I play the unfaithful wife and then accuse me of drinking too much. Poor Diana, I begin to think she has the wrong ideas about you.
Well, must we talk about her?
Well, it would be better for all concerned if you could manage to fall in love with her.
I think you're heartless.
I'm sorry, my dear, but I hadn't the least notion you felt this way about me.
Oh, I adore you. There's a great future for me, I'm told, and with you to work for, why, I could do anything. Anything. I could make money, too, and it'd all be for you.
It's no good, Gordon.
I can't go on without you. I couldn't write a bar of music that wasn't ugly and uninspired. Think it over.
Oh, my dear Gordon, you can't make a woman love you by arguing. If I did love you, I wouldn't want a debate. I'd want you to sweep me off my feet, pick me up and carry me off bodily like some captive maiden of old.
If that's how you feel...
Oh, no, not so fast. I'm speaking purely in the abstract.
You're turning me down?
For your own good and mine. Do you realize you're trying to steal another man's wife? You must have a very low view of my morals.
Well, I didn't think of it that way.
Mind you, no woman is ever really insulted by such a proposal, so long as it isn't too rough. I'm bound to say you've insulted me in a most attractive way.
But there's no hope for me.
I'm afraid not.
Then I'd like to leave.
Well, you can't leave till morning.
Very well, but after tomorrow I'd rather not see you again.
Very well.
Janet, this is probably the last time I shall see you. May I kiss you?
And have Clive and Diana walk in right in the middle of it? Really, Gordon, you are a silly baby. Well, just one. Oh, Gordon, please. Your arms are squeezing me terribly hard. Oh, Gordon.
You do care. You do. Oh, Janet, you will come away with me.
Keep away. Keep away from me.
Keep away after that?
It was a mistake. I didn't realize what I was doing.
You can't put me off. We'll go together this very night.
No.
If you wanted me to be open about it, I'll tell Clive everything.
No, for heaven's sake, no.
Oh, I never dreamt this could happen.
Oh, nor I. Oh, please go away. Oh, for pity's sake. Oh, listen. Clive's coming.
Well, hello. I'll just put this sheet of music and put it on the piano again. Sorry I messed up the bridge game.
Not at all. What's the matter with him? Had another arpeggio spasm. Another idea.
Sort of.
And by the way, I've unpacked again. I'm sorry if I upset you. Am I forgiven?
Oh, I suppose so.
Oh, don't be difficult, darling. I've said I'm sorry and will stay as long as you like. The fact is, I'm content to be anywhere as long as you're around.
That was rather a nice little speech, Clive. It suits you better than being flippant all the time.
Well, flippancy is as good a mask as any.
You make me feel uncomfortable. You seem suddenly tired, disappointed.
Oh, dear, this won't do. I'd better make another pretty speech, only I've used up my repertoire.
I'll make do with the one I've just had.
Hello. Kissing, eh?
Why not? Oh, Diana, Clive's agreed to stay.
I know. The rat made me promise him the picture.
I might have known.
Of course you wouldn't believe me if I said the Lautrec had nothing to do with it.
No.
Can't blame you. Appearances are against me.
What on earth's the matter now?
Nothing your sudden demise wouldn't cure.
Where's Gordon?
Music room.
You know, Janet, I'm beginning to think there might be drawbacks to being married to a composer who drops everything when inspiration comes. It might be embarrassing. And I could have killed you when you came down. He was on the brink of proposing.
No.
The words were trembling on his lips, and he got that goggly look in his eyes that nice men get when they have to mention the word love. Oh, Janet, I'm so thrilled. But did you ever know anybody so preposterously shy? You know, I don't believe he's ever kissed a girl in his life.
You don't say.
Where's Janet?
Just gone out.
I want to borrow a bathing cap. Mine's in ribbons.
Going bathing with Gordon?
Yes, that's why I've got my bathing costume on.
Ah.
Ah, what?
I once read that the essence of good salesmanship is clever display of the goods. That should certainly hook him.
Mind your own business.
Well, where's your gratitude? I've done all I can. I sing your praises ad lib. I'd never have believed I could lie so convincingly. What holds him back?
Clive, there's something you can tell me.
Yes, dear.
You can see me as Gordon sees me.
Well, thanks, if you think Gordon won't mind.
Oh, don't be so damned infuriating. You know perfectly well what I mean. Listen, I am now 28.
30. And you'll be 31 on the 25th of this month.
Will you listen? I want you to tell me honestly, as a man looking at a woman, as Gordon would see me. Do I look 28 or 30?
To be quite honest, you don't.
Oh, what a weight you've lifted off my mind. And if you had mentioned matronly, I'd have killed myself.
Pity you didn't tell me.
I swear he loves me, Clive. Look at the way he moons about the house.
Yes, he's a case if ever I saw one.
And what holds him back? I've given him every encouragement.
You've done everything except hit him over the head. Maybe that's the trouble. A man likes to think he goes after a wife of his own free will. Of course he doesn't. You've been after Gordon with a wedding ring in one hand and a shotgun in the other. Try being more demure, more dove-like.
More what?
Dove-like. Less like a hawk pouncing on a sparrow.
Oh, Clive, you
You see, this youngster is different. He's got something you and I are not used to.
What's that?
Niceness.
Niceness?
You see, you've never even heard of it. Your experience has been confined to men like Jeff Carstairs and me. We all, our kind that is, know what cooking when you flutter those long lashes. Gordon would merely think you've got something in your eye.
As a preacher, Clive, you're just comical.
Scoff away, but I'm right. This kid's refreshing.
He is rather sweet.
And I'm not very happy at the prospect of letting you gobble him up.
Then why help me?
The sooner you get Gordon, the sooner I get the Lautrec, and the sooner I can leave this hole in rural England and return to London.
My dear Clive, I've changed. Oh, I know I've always gone my own way, but now I've settled down in real earnest.
That's quite an achievement if Gordon has brought it about. You were a bit over the odds, you know.
Well, what about you? I've never heard you talking about niceness before.
Even I can pity a rabbit in a trap.
Oh, Clive.
I'm sorry, but I like the young burger.
You'll soon be weeping all over me and wishing you'd been a little like Gordon at his age instead of the horrible little squirt you undoubtedly were.
Thank you. However, much and all as you have vilified, not to say insulted me, I have given your dilemma some thought. Did I happen to hear that Gordon had won cups for swimming?
And so what?
You're going swimming with him, and there are some very nasty currents in that river. Why not?
I know. I try to drown and he saves me. Oh, Clive, how corny can you get?
It's worked before. After all, you have said you'd like to feel his arms round you.
But not in the middle of the river.
Please don't belittle my idea. Look, you're just giving up, crying out pitifully. He grasps you and with strong, sweeping strokes brings you to the bank. You raise your slender white arms to him and say, with love and gratitude in your eyes, Gordon, how can I ever repay you?
With all that gratitude and love in my eyes, I'm asking for trouble.
Then you say, I'm so cold, Gordon, hold me in your arms. The poor devil does it.
Clive, it sounds too easy.
Sorry to have kept you waiting, Diana. Shall we go now?
Yes. I'll just nip upstairs and borrow another cap from Janet. I won't be a moment, darling.
How are things, Gordon? You look depressed.
Oh, no, not a bit. Where's Janet?
Out in the garden. Want her?
Oh, no, I was only wondering if she was coming to have a dip with us.
I think not. How's the music?
Not in the mood.
Something on your mind?
What on earth should there be?
Oh, a woman? You are in love, aren't you?
Good heavens, she hasn't told you, has she?
No need. I've got lies in my head. Thing is, take her, my boy, take her.
What? You wouldn't mind?
Oh, why should I?
Well, some men would.
Nonsense. I'd rather it was you than someone else. Go ahead and good luck to you.
Well, I hardly know how to thank you.
Like me to say something when she comes back? You know, something apt?
No, thanks.
Well, mind you do the thing properly.
Of course. I'll sweep her off her feet. I might even pick her up and carry her off in my arms like some captive maid of old.
What?
Well, someone told me women like that sort of thing.
Oh. Well, take the plunge boldly, Gordon. The plunge.
A telegram for Diana.
Just too late. She's gone to nearly drown herself.
I get the idea, and I'll bet it's one of your masterpieces. I wish to heaven Diana would leave the poor boy alone. I'm sure he doesn't want a bar of her.
Then who does he want a bar of? Oh, never mind. Don't answer that.
Clive, I'm going to tell Diana we must leave here tomorrow.
After all I've suffered, I am not leaving here till that picture is mine.
Clive?
What's wrong, Gordon? Oh, bring her in here, Gordon. Oh, you idiot, Clive. Your plot's gone wrong.
Good heavens, you don't mean...
Lay her down here, Gordon.
What happened, for Pete's sake?
She got sucked under.
She...
Brandy, quick, Clive, and don't just stand there looking like an idiot.
And so the curtain falls on Act One of tonight's Caltex play, Four in Hand.
Faster starts, smoother acceleration, more economical running. That's what you get from Caltex butane boosted gasoline, the gasoline designed to take better care of your car's performance. Next time you fill up, change to Caltex butane boosted gasoline. Your car will respond more readily, tick over more smoothly and steadily. Caltex butane boosted gasoline's at the sign of the Caltex Star, where we take better care of your car.
You'll be happier by far when you stop at the Caltex Star because of all the things we do. And we take pride in serving you.
The Caltex Theatre now presents Aileen Britton in Four in Hand, Act Two.
Well, Gordon, what happened?
I'm afraid I hit her.
Would you mind repeating that?
I hit her on the jaw. Knocked her out. She was drowning and wound herself around me.
So you socked her on the jaw?
Yes, it's the correct thing to do.
Most decidedly. Janet, is she coming round?
Oh, I think so. It's all right, darling. You're quite safe.
Gordon, if Diana asks for me, you might tell her I've been called to the Outer Hebrides and all points west. I may not be back for several months.
Janet,
What happened?
Gordon saved you from drowning, dear. No need to worry.
Ouch. I got the most terrible neuralgia.
Now, keep calm, darling.
Oh, Janet, I remember now. I was drowning. Really drowning. Oh, it was awful. Awful. I could see my whole past.
Oh, that would be awful.
Oh, if you only knew what I went through. I'll never go swimming again. It's funny drowning should give you such a pain in the jaw.
I'm most terribly sorry, Diana.
You.
You do feel all right now, though, don't you?
Do I?
Well, you were pulling me down. Hitting you was the only thing to do. They teach you that in life-saving.
How very thoughtful of them.
Well, I can't understand your going out so far.
I didn't know I was going to be poleaxed. I'll be more careful in future.
Now, let's get you upstairs so we can get this wet swimsuit off.
I don't think I can move. I feel funny inside.
That's probably the water you've swallowed.
Water? I thought it was brandy.
He means the river water.
River water? Oh, but Janet, that's seething with horrible wriggly things. Small boys put them in jars. Oh, Lord, I can feel them inside swimming about. Millions of them.
We'll have some more brandy. They don't like it.
Oh, thanks, I will. Oh, as long as it doesn't start them on a drunken orgy. Oh, blast. I've got hiccups.
Well, I can easily cure that for you. Now, all you have to do...
No, thanks. Especially if it's in the life-saving code. I'd rather have hiccups. I like hiccups.
Oh, you'll feel better after a rest.
I shan't feel better till I've seen Clive.
Well, he left a few minutes ago. I can't think why.
He had his reasons.
Well, I'll find him if you like.
No. No, wait till I've got my strength back. I'll take that rest, and I don't advise anyone to come near me for 24 hours.
Oh, it'll wear off, dear.
How do you know? Have you ever been socked on the jaw by a man who's won cups for it? Tell me when Clive arrives, and leave one of my golf clubs by my bed.
Did you really have to hit her?
Well, of course. I don't go around knocking out women for the fun of it. Janet, I must talk to you.
Hadn't you better go and change?
Are you quite heartless? This is the first time I've been alone with you since...
Since I made a fool of myself in a moment of madness. Now keep away from me, Gordon. Look, I see I've got to be brutally frank with you. That little lapse of the other day doesn't mean I'm in love with you. Gordon, please remember I have got a husband.
But you're not in love with him.
Well, that's quite beside the point. You men, incidentally, would lead very lonely lives if women only married you for love.
Well, I must be an exception. I just love you with every scrap of feeling I've got. Oh, if you'd only come away with me.
For the weekend or till death do us part?
Well, till after the divorce, you could live with my aunt in Tunbridge Wells. She's very broad-minded.
She'd need to be.
Oh, but she is. Oh, Janet, please. Please do as I ask. Come away with me. You can't go on living with a man you don't love.
I'm very fond of Clive.
Fond? Well, what's that?
Oh, Gordon, once and for all. I don't love you.
Your lips didn't say that when I held you in my arms.
Oh, I've explained that. It was nothing. A moment of weakness.
Oh, no fear it wasn't. You're not deceiving me. You love me right enough, but you're too cowardly to go through with it.
Gordon, you've no right to say a thing like that.
Well, don't you like the truth?
Well, I've gone out of my way to be honest with you, and all I get is insults. I didn't ask you to fall in love with me. You'd better run away somewhere and cool down.
I'll tell you where I'm going.
Janet.
Oh, Diana, why aren't you resting?
It's no good, I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I go through that horrible business of drowning again. Have you any aspirin?
Yes, I'll get some for you. By the way, this telegram just arrived for you.
Thanks.
Diana, will you marry me?
Certainly. Help yourself. What did you say?
I asked you to marry me.
Oh, you've asked me. You've asked me? Of course I will.
Here's the aspirin, Diana.
Janet, Gordon's asked me to marry him.
Congratulations to both. I take it you won't be needing the aspirins.
Oh, don't be absurd. Oh, I'm so happy. We must ring up the papers at once.
Oh, excuse me, I'm going...
Where are you going, Gordon?
Well, nowhere in particular. I'll be back in a minute.
Oh, for Pete's sake, you can't run off like that. Janet, can you beat that? First he socks me, then proposes, and then he runs away.
Quite unique. Most men propose first and sock afterwards.
Oh, shut up, Janet. Gordon, for heaven's sake, let yourself go. Say something or do something.
Such as...
Oh, do that trick with a cigarette where you make smoke come out of your ears.
Don't be an idiot, Janet. Well, Gordon, at least you can kiss me.
Of course.
Oh, darling, what passion. My dear, there's so much I'll have to teach you.
Oh, well, if the lessons are going to start now...
Oh, Clive, come in. Don't just peep around the corner. It's all right, I've forgiven you. I forgive everybody for everything they've ever done to me, and that's plenty.
You haven't lost your memory or anything.
No. Come in and hear the wonderful news. Gordon's proposed.
Congratulations, Beth. This calls for a drink. Tell me all about it.
Well, I came in here...
Go on.
Oh, Lord, isn't life a scream? I came in here for an aspirin and got a husband.
You hear that, Janet? She came in for an aspirin and got a husband.
Do you always have to behave like a clown, Clive?
I did, Janet.
If my proposal was so funny, I can always withdraw it.
What? Clive, why didn't you keep your silly mouth shut?
I like that. It was you who mentioned the aspirin.
Forgive us, Gordon.
If I've said anything out of place, I apologize.
So I should think.
Fine. I'll get the drinks now.
Good, and don't try to be funny anymore.
I still think it was funny. Ha, ha.
Janet.
Shut up, Janet.
And don't you talk to me like that, Clive.
To our young lovers, and may they always be as happy as they are at this moment.
Written quickly and then make a bolt.
Gordon.
Janet! Good Lord, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why did you come down?
I guessed you were doing a moonlight flit. I wouldn't like you to leave with unkind feelings about me.
I'm sorry you came down.
A fine mess you're in. You must have been mad to throw yourself at Diana just to spite me.
Well, I acted on impulse. It wasn't spite. Oh, now this note's no good. I'll have to start another.
To Diana, I suppose.
Will you please go away and let me finish it?
Very well. Difficult letter, I suppose. It takes some explaining why you knock a woman senseless and then propose and then desert her all in one day.
Please don't peep over my shoulder. When it's finished, I'll submit it for your approval.
What do you think she'll say when she reads it?
I don't care. I shan't be here.
But I shall, and I can see the house collapsing on me.
Well, it'll do you good. All of you need shaking up. Look at Diana. She throws herself at every man who comes along.
Oh, really?
And Clive always seeking some opening to exercise his puny
Oh,
wit.
no, that's not fair. You don't understand, Clive.
Well, there's nothing to understand. To him, everything's a joke. Why, if I were to go upstairs and tell him you and I were running away together, he'd say, "My dear Gordon, run away with her if you want to, but for heaven's sake, don't wake me up in the middle of the night to tell me about it."
Go on.
And you are the worst. At least they're genuine, but you're not. You have the hands of a musician, but now you only use them for pouring drinks.
Oh, that's cruel. I think I'll go back to bed.
Well, in that case, I'll finish my note.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Oh, I'm sorry you're unhappy. It isn't my fault I don't love you, and you've no right to turn on me and make me feel so useless.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janet. I'm afraid that was just spite and disappointment. Can you forgive me?
Of course.
Well, then, goodbye.
Goodbye, Gordon.
Oh, darling, you must come with me. I can't go on if you don't. You're everything to me.
Oh, I didn't think you needed me like this.
Oh, Janet. You'll come?
Yes, I'll come.
Then let's slip away this very minute.
Without telling them.
I'll write a note while you're dressing.
I'll only be a minute.
Oh, shut up. Hello? What? Yes, this is 780. Your daughter's ill? Look, who do you want? No, I'm not Dr. Gregory. Yes, this is 780, but I'm not Dr. Gregory. Well, you must have got your numbers mixed. Well, I don't care what you phoned last time. And the same to you, you old buzzard.
Anyone down there?
Suitcase. Behind the curtain, I think. Yes, that's right. Tunbridge Wells. You'll ring me back? Thanks.
Darling, what on earth are you doing?
Oh, Diana. I'm there, and I tried so hard not to disturb you. The fact is, I'm putting a call through to my aunt.
At 4:30 in the morning?
Yes.
You're not ill, are you?
Oh, no. It's nothing like that. Well, I got it into my head that something had happened to my aunt, and I simply had to find out.
And has anything happened to your aunt?
Well, I'm waiting to get through now. You must think I'm an awful fool.
Oh, not at all, dear. One can have premonitions. Give me a cigarette. Oh, what's the matter?
You'd hardly have time to finish it. I mean, you don't want to lose any sleep now.
Oh, don't be silly. My word, you are in a state. It's a good thing you'll have me to look after you from now on.
Oh, Diana, I do wish...
Gordon! You're fully dressed.
Well, Yes, I know.
Just to speak to your aunt on the telephone?
Yes, exactly. Well, I always dress for that. My aunt's very old-fashioned.
Oh, really, dear, this is rather alarming. You'll have to see a doctor about your nerves. Ah, that'll be your aunt.
Oh, it can't be. I mean, it's rather quick.
Now, hold on, Gordon. I'll take that call. I've an idea there's something odd going on here.
But, Diana...
Hello? Yes, that's my number. Who am I? Well, who are you? Oh, Mr. Crewe, how very mysterious you're being. I'm sorry, darling. Do forgive me. No, I was speaking to Gordon, my fiancé. Yes, fiancé. It only happened today, or should I say yesterday now. Your wife was called what? No. From this number? Darling, have you been calling anyone an old buzzard?
Me?
No, of course you haven't. No, Mr. Grew, there must be some mistake. No, not from here. Oh, not at all. We were up anyway. Bye.
Where's the fire?
Only the telephone, dear. It was all a mistake.
It's wonderful. How can I sleep when bells are ringing all over the house?
Oh, it wasn't you, was it?
It wasn't me, what?
Calling the vicar's wife an old buzzard.
What the devil are you talking about?
Evidently it wasn't you.
What's going on here? Why are you dressed so early, Gordon?
Oh, yes, dear. You were going to tell me when the telephone rang.
Yes, I was just going to tell you when the telephone rang.
Gordon, why all this mystery?
Well, the fact is, I do this in my sleep. I've done it ever since I was a child. It's a terrible affliction.
What is?
Sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking? Oh, darling, you poor lamb. Why didn't you tell me?
I quite often wake up and find I've dressed myself like this, right down to the very last detail.
Amazing. I'm most interested. Tell me the history of your case.
At this hour?
Don't worry about that, old boy. I shan't go back to bed now.
You won't?
It isn't worth it now.
But I should hate to feel I'd spoiled your night's rest.
I couldn't think of sleeping after this. About this sleepwalking.
But, Diana...
I think I'll just wait to find out how your aunt is.
How his aunt is?
Gordon's waiting for a trunk call.
You are having a busy night.
You had a premonition, didn't you, Gordon?
As well as sleepwalking?
I suppose it does sound a bit extraordinary.
He probably wants a tonic to pull him together.
There'd have to be some tonic. What sort of premonition was it?
He thought something awful had happened to his aunt.
Well, I can't help it. I'm just made that way. I mean, these moods completely get hold of me, and until I can find out, I'm all to pieces.
Well, I'll see if I can get them to hurry the call.
No. Please don't bother.
Why on earth not?
I don't think I've been up as early as this since I spent a somewhat peculiar holiday in the Channel Islands.
Gordon, what does this mean? This note on the desk here.
What is it? Let me see.
I'm most frightfully sorry.
What does it mean? What have I done?
It tells you here. It's all been a horrible mistake.
Gordon, is this some joke? You can't be serious.
I'm sorry, Diana, but I'm afraid I am.
Why suddenly treat me like this?
I told you I made a mistake.
You made a mistake? Oh, that's pretty cool. You made a mistake, Clive.
I don't expect you to forgive me, but on my honor, no one regrets it more than I do.
He means it hurts him more than it hurts you.
What kind of a woman do you think I am?
Perhaps that's the trouble.
You keep out of this. Gordon, you needn't think you can play this sort of game with me because you can't. Now, what's the meaning of it? Is there another woman?
Another woman? Oh, good Lord, no.
Because if there is,
of
I'll
course
bring...
there isn't another woman. How could there be?
Whom are you thinking of?
Well, how should I know? Even Tunbridge Wells can't be populated entirely by aunts. We'll soon know when this telephone call comes through.
Well, I didn't really make a call. I'm afraid that was what you might call a subterfuge.
It seems to me you've learned pretty fast while you've been here.
Oh, never mind all that. Gordon, why have you suddenly decided you can't marry me? There must be some reason.
Yes, this afternoon, or rather yesterday, you told me quite definitely you were in love with Diana.
Did I?
You know very well you did.
Well, that was yesterday, don't you see?
No, I don't see. What's made you change your mind?
Nothing. I haven't changed my mind.
Then you're still in love with me?
Oh, no.
But you must be if you haven't changed your mind.
You mean you had no intention of marrying me?
No. Yes. No, I mean no.
Make up your mind.
Well, I intended to marry her at the time. Oh, I'm getting so confused.
Well, what do you think I'm getting?
Now, just a minute. What is this mistake you keep talking about?
He still hasn't told me why he won't marry me.
I'm beginning to think he has.
Then, Clive, for heaven's sake, tell me.
It's possible I've been on the wrong track all the time. Do you think I have, Gordon?
I couldn't say.
Will somebody tell me what's going on?
Hold on a minute. I seem to remember your behaving rather oddly when I said I could see you were mad about Diana. Not only that, you seemed astonished when I said Diana was gone on you. Though God knows you need to be deaf, dumb, and blind not to see it the way she's been throwing herself at your head.
Clive, of all the cheek.
Well, haven't you? The only thing you haven't done is to wear a paper hat with Kiss Me Gordon on it.
Oh.
He must have known. So why was he making out he didn't? It must have been because he didn't want to propose to you at all. Am I getting warm?
Oh, very well, then. I didn't want to hurt Diana's feelings, but I see I must. The truth is, I was going to marry you, but I couldn't go through with it because it was such a dirty business.
A dirty business? Marrying me a dirty business?
No. I meant it would only be for your money that I was marrying you, and it seemed such a dirty trick. I couldn't go on.
You have the impertinence to stand there and tell me to my face you'd only marry me for my money?
No, dear. He's saying he couldn't marry you even with your money.
Well, it's downright insulting.
He could have phrased it more delicately.
Who do you think you are to stand there and... Well, it's unbelievable.
It's what novelists call being brutally honest.
Honest? You call what he's done to me being honest?
I'm deeply sorry.
I'm not as sorry as you're going to be, my boy. My heavens, the newspapers. The engagement will be in all the papers this morning.
I've always said you can't believe all you read in the newspapers.
Well, if you like, you can say that you jilted me.
Don't worry, old boy, she will. Believe me, there'll be some pretty lurid stories circulating about you before you're much older.
I shouldn't be surprised. As a matter of fact...
Still, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that for once in this very imperfect world, it's paid to act up to one's principles.
How do you know? You never had any.
Well, there's something else I may as well tell you. In fact, I want to.
You needn't bother, I know.
You know?
I tumbled to it suddenly just now when I was recalling that conversation we had yesterday about Diana.
Oh, what is all this? You want to drive me mad?
You'll soon get over it.
If somebody doesn't tell me...
I'll tell you. I'm in love with Janet.
You're what?
Now you can understand why he wouldn't take your bait.
Well, of all the nerve. I can't believe it.
Oh, he's not the first youngster to conceive a hopeless passion for Janet. Don't let it worry you, Gordon. One soon gets over these things at your age.
Clive, are you telling me Janet's responsible for all this?
Do show some sense, Diana.
But Gordon said...
I know he did. Of course he's fallen for Janet, but you don't suppose Gordon's the sort to make love to a married woman? He'd be horrified if he thought she knew. Matter of fact, Gordon, I feel a bit of a swine for dragging it out of you. I hope you'll forgive me. It'll be our secret. We won't embarrass you by telling Janet.
Oh, won't we? I've a thing or two to say to Janet.
Let her sleep on. If you bring her down here, it'll only be embarrassing for her and Gordon.
Are you referring to me?
Janet, you.
What the devil does this mean, Janet?
What do you think it means? I don't know how you dare stand there and face me, you scheming little traitor.
Janet, what are you doing here in those clothes and with your suitcase?
Oh, of course, she walks in her sleep as well.
Now listen, Diana.
If you must blame someone, blame me.
You philandering piano player. She's welcome to you. I wouldn't marry you now if I had to choose between you and...
A performing seal is the customary phrase.
I don't want any help from you, Clive. A nice fool you've been made to look. If you were anything of a man, you'd knock him down.
Why, don't get up again?
Oh, I always knew you had no pluck. Well, I hope you're satisfied. But as far as I'm concerned, I've done with a lot of you. I'll thank you all to leave my house. I'll give you half an hour. And if you're all not gone by then, I'll have you thrown out. Oh.
One can, of course, see her point of view. Well?
I can imagine what you're thinking. But I couldn't help myself.
No. It seems to me you've helped yourself pretty liberally.
We did fight against it.
Oh, quite. Whose side were you on?
Oh, Clive, I know how you feel, and I'm bitterly ashamed. But there's simply nothing I can do about it.
How long has this been going on, Janet?
It hasn't started yet, if that's what you mean.
Is that the truth?
Of course it's the truth. I hope you're not suggesting I've been unfaithful to you.
I couldn't prevent the thought passing through my mind. Forgive me, Janet.
Oh, never mind. You'll divorce me, of course.
Your happiness is all that counts.
Oh, Clive.
One can't fight against love. One can fight against everything else, but against love one is powerless.
Oh, that's most awfully true.
I don't know if it's true, but it sounds magnificent. Give no thought to me, Janet. I shall probably go to Greenland and devote the rest of my life to collecting wild plants for the British Museum.
Look here, Clive, you're being too jolly noble for words.
No, I'm maintaining my composure by a considerable effort of will. Please go now while I have myself in hand. Take her from my sight, Gordon, before I break down and humiliate myself.
Well, all right, if that's how you feel. And I'd like to say I think you've been very decent about the whole thing.
Thank you, Gordon. I wish I could say the same to you.
It's all very fishy. I believe you're glad I'm going.
My dear.
I think your whole attitude is extremely odd.
I could burst into tears if you particularly wish.
Oh, do stop trying to be amusing. I don't understand you. It's not as if I haven't been a good wife to you.
My dear, I can thoroughly recommend you. As a cook, Gordon, Janet is a real wizard, so long as you confine your diet to a boiled egg. As for running a house, I don't know anyone to touch her. So long as there's a staff of a dozen servants to do the odds and ends.
Oh, that's not fair. There's been no need for me to do those things.
Well, now's your chance. You can do them for Gordon.
Oh, yes, rather. It'll be great fun, won't it, Janet?
Oh, yes, of course.
You want to break into it gradually, though. Don't make her scrub floors right at the start.
Oh, good Lord, no. We'll do what my aunt does, have a woman in one morning a week.
One morning?
Oh, you're going to his aunt?
Yes.
Well, she'll have Janet to help her now. You'll love that, won't you, Janet? Perhaps you could teach in the Sunday school. You were always so fond of children. I always think that's what's wrong with a modern marriage, not enough children. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes, I do. My aunt's always saying the very same thing. She says everyone ought to have at least 6 children.
How many?
That's only what his aunt says. You'd better take her away.
Clive, I want to know, are you glad to get rid of me or no?
How can you ask such a question?
There's another woman, isn't there?
My dear.
There is. You've got someone ready to take my place even before my back is turned.
Yeah, I say, Janet, ought you to talk to him like that when he's been so decent?
Oh, be quiet. Clive, I demand an answer.
Very well. There's no other woman.
I don't believe you.
My dear Janet, just reflect. Is it likely that I'd encumber myself with another woman after successfully relieving myself of you?
Oh, to say a thing like that after I've given you the best years of my life.
If you've done that, it's a poor outlook for God.
Oh, very funny indeed. You think you're so smart. I'll never forgive you for this.
Janet, don't you think we ought to be going?
Oh, in a minute. Do you think I'm going to let him treat me like this without even telling him what I think of him? You'll find out soon enough how you'll miss me when I'm gone.
Janet, why are you carrying on like this? What does it all matter now? We're going.
By the way, Gordon, it's none of my business now, but naturally, after the years Janet and I have been together, I can't easily forget her welfare. I take it you can support her, well, in moderate comfort?
I netted £500 last year.
Excellent.
This year I hope to double it.
You hear that, Janet? He hopes to double it.
Of course, I can't promise her. But...
He can't promise you.
Oh, you don't have to repeat everything he says. I'm not deaf.
Then it only remains for me to wish you both happiness, small though your chances may be. Gordon, be kind to her. And above all, resist the temptation to fetch her one across the face and tell her to stop her blasted snivelling.
Clive!
You can always play her some soothing music.
Oh, stop it, Clive. I could kill you.
It's good advice I'm giving.
I know. That's why I could kill you.
Oh, do let's go, Janet. We've discussed all this quite long enough.
But why the hurry?
No, Clive's right, Gordon. It'll be absurd to leave at this grisly hour. At least we can wait until after breakfast.
Oh, do. Breakfast is such a jolly meal.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gordon. It was all a dream.
A dream?
Just now, alone with you in this room. Clive has brought me back to reality.
But, Janet, you can't possibly mean...
Gordon, it's no good.
But I don't understand. You can't stay here with him. You don't love him.
I'm not even sure that that's true now.
Thank you, Janet.
You mean you'd let her stay after what happened?
Of course.
But just now you practically said you'd be glad to get rid of her.
I can understand your perplexity.
You must go, Gordon. I'm terribly sorry if I've hurt you, but it would never have worked. I don't know what happened to me.
Is that your last word?
Yes.
So once more I've made a fool of myself.
You'll get over it. One has to learn about women one way or another. You've had the full course all in 1 week.
I can tell you one thing. No woman's going to get the chance to do this to me again.
Quite right, my boy. If I were you, Gordon, I should now make a graceful exit. I bear you no ill will. In fact, I'm grateful to you for bringing Janet and me to a closer understanding.
Well, I'm glad I've been of some use. You must call on me the next time you need my help.
You know, I don't believe he said goodbye. However, there may be another chance. He doesn't know it, but there isn't a train for 2.5 hours.
I don't know how I can look you in the face.
Well, you know, I'm a dull-witted sort of fellow. But I do know when the time has come for a husband to do his best to be understanding and helpful.
Oh, so you're still here.
We are.
You don't mean... Congratulations.
I'm sorry, Diana. I must have been slightly mad.
I should think we all were. When I think of what that boy did to me, I wonder I have any self-respect left. Thank heaven for Jeff.
Jeff?
His wife's giving him a divorce. Look, Janet, in my dressing gown pocket all the time. The telegram. I haven't even read it.
Oh, it says he's flying in this morning.
That isn't all.
Oh, but this is wonderful. Jeff's been transferred to the American Embassy in Paris, Clive.
And I adore Paris. It'll be a completely new life for me. And I'll meet new and exciting people, distinguished people.
Oh, darling, I'm so pleased for you.
Isn't it wonderful? Oh, I'm so madly happy.
If you're as happy as all that, you can let me have that painting.
Clive, it's yours. Take it.
You're driving up to town?
Of course. Why?
You'll find Gordon plodding along the road somewhere. You can give him a lift.
Gordon? Oh, Gordon. Oh, he'll be lucky if I don't run him over. Well, goodbye, you two. I must fly, or Jeff will be wondering what's happening.
Especially with your engagement to Gordon in all the morning papers.
What? Oh, my goodness. Oh, no!
So ends our Caltex play, Four in Hand. In a moment, we will give you tonight's cast and tell you about next week's presentation in the Caltex Theatre. Ladies and gentlemen, the producer of tonight's Caltex play, who was also responsible for the play's adaptation, E. Mason Wood.
Thank you. Four in Hand was written by Michael Brett. In the starring role you heard,
I played Diana Masters.
this was Aileen Britton. The remaining trio were as follows: Janet, Philippa Baker; Clive, Kevin Brennan; Gordon, Don Pascoe.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. To Margot Shane, the 7 hills of Rome meant nothing but a symbol of the irritating fact that she had to travel so far from Hollywood to make yet another of those fabulous movies which had made her the idol of millions of adoring fans. But she found that the Eternal City was to provide the backdrop to the greatest drama she had ever played, as her own life moved to a violent climax. Be listening next week for this powerful story, The 7 Hills. And remember, too, coming productions include The Lady from the Sea and If This Be Error, further outstanding dramas soon to be heard in the Caltex Theatre. Now, this is your compere, Rick Hutton, bidding you good night on behalf of your hosts, Caltex Oil, marketers of Caltex Super Gasoline and Caltex Gasoline, the world-famous RPM 1030 Special Motor Oil, and Marfac Lubrication. Welcome to the Caltex Theatre, a full hour of dramatic entertainment broadcast over a nationwide network of stations throughout Australia. The Caltex Theatre is brought to you by Caltex Oil, marketers of over 1,000 outstanding petroleum products, in association with Caltex dealers and distributors everywhere. Tonight in the Caltex Theatre you will hear The Trial of a Judge, written by the well-known actor Raymond Massey. This is the powerful story of a famous judge, merciless in his administration of the law, yet himself leading a double life. When his past returns to confront him, he finds he must be merciless again, with himself. In the title role of the judge, you will hear our star, Kevin Brennan. The Caltex Theatre presents The Trial of a Judge, Act 1.
My name is Britton, Sir Francis Britton, one-time judge of the High Court of England. But of course you know me. You've seen those screaming headlines, you've heard me talked about. The hanging judge, they called me. You remember, of course. Perhaps you might be interested, now that the first sensation of the case of the hanging judge has died down, to know my side of the story. To know how and why I did what I did. Perhaps the best place to begin the story is in the Adelphi Club, that London meeting place of lawyers, judges, and parliamentarians, where so much happened to shape my destiny. Let me begin the evening after the hearing of an appeal against a death sentence I had passed upon a young murderer. Major Gilbert West of the Home Office, who had refused to allow the appeal, was discussing the matter with me.
It may interest you to know, Britton, there was no confession. He stuck to his innocence to the end.
It may interest me, but it does not concern me. He was fairly tried. The rules of evidence were meticulously observed. It passes understanding that any decision as to a reprieve was involved.
You didn't have to listen to Keith Nottingham for 2 hours last night. He's a persuasive fellow.
Every case is cut and dried. Persuasion doesn't come into it. Why have we developed the trial system? To destroy the result by a sentimental whim? West, the case is always greater than the man. Always. That was my creed. It always had been. It brought me under critical fire a good deal, of course. In fact, I realize now just how much I was disliked, even by other members of the club who are usually civil enough to my face. Men like Sir George Sidney of the House of Commons and Miles Lamprey, the solicitor. I've no doubt they disgusted me the moment I left their presence in the club that evening.
Lord, what a desiccated, pompous bore Britain is. Don't you agree, Lamprey?
He has no social graces, Geordie, I grant you. But he tries rather hard, with complete failure.
But... Oh, bless my soul, now, go on. I say, Lamprey, who's that fellow reading with the fireplace? I seem to know his face.
Oh, a new member. Name of Archer. Just retired as Commissioner of Police in Hong Kong.
Of course. I thought I knew his face. Met him years ago.
He's coming over here.
Yes. Excuse me, Colonel Archer, isn't it?
How do you do, Sir George? I didn't think you'd remember me.
Of course. Good to see you, old chap. This is Miles Lamprey, a thieving lawyer, I'm afraid.
How do you do?
How do you do?
From Hong Kong, I understand, Colonel. What brings you to London?
Well, I'm home for good. I've just been appointed Chief of the Norfolk Constabulary, which is a comfortable progression from the Far East.
Yes, I expect so.
Yes. Ah, here comes someone else you must meet. Sir Keith Nottingham. Whacking good lawyer bloke. I say, Keith.
Oh, evening, Geordie.
Oh, hello, Lamprey. Keith, this is my friend, Colonel Archer. Keith Nottingham.
How do you do?
Oh, how do you do?
Oh, now, how about a drink, Archer?
I'd like to, but I'm late for a dinner appointment, so if you'll excuse me...
Oh, surely. Good to have you back home, old chap.
Thanks, Sidney. Good night. Good night, Nottingham, Lamprey. Very glad to have met you. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Splendid chap, that. You're looking a bit sour, Keith. What's up?
I am sour. I've just read the press report on a speech Britain made at some dinner last night. Seen it?
Yes, I have it here. I will say categorically that within the memory of living man, no person in this country has suffered the extreme penalty of the law without having richly deserved that fate.
Imagine being able to say that when young Harry Gosling was just a few hours away from the gallows. The man isn't human.
Yes, I'm sorry, Keith. I know how you feel about that case. Every case you take on for that matter, you made the best fight that could be made for him. You couldn't have done more.
Britain hates me. It was me he was trying, not Gosling. If ever there was a reasonable doubt to work for, I had it. Look at what the case was. An hysterical girl. Baby on the way. She's trying to get him to marry her. He can't. No money. She stabs herself. He's watching. He's seen it. He's faced with that awful fact. The dead body. What can he do? He panics. He dumps it in the canal. Poor youngster. We all know what panic is, but not Britain. He worked harder on that point than the Crown, played it as if he were pleading. And he allowed the boy's past record to be brought in on the damnedest technicality.
Yes, he did.
I argued those points with everything I had at the appeal, and for 2 hours last night with West at the Home Office.
Perhaps you forgot to call him Major.
Oh, West wasn't so bad. He's hog-tied by advice from the bench. It was judicial direction I was up against. I couldn't beat that. Britain wanted a conviction, and he got it. And he made it stick.
Keith, I know how badly you feel, but you must admit old Britain knows his law, and he's pretty thorough. I believe he lives for the law. There's nothing else he cares about.
How can you administer law without one spark of human kindness?
Emotion and the law. A painful combination.
Emotion and the law. They are inseparable.
I couldn't help hearing that remark, Nottingham.
What? Oh, hello, Britain.
It's a most dangerous theory.
Sir Francis, you and I both follow the profession of the law. We have that in common, but we have little else. I do not believe that ours or any criminal law can be an unfailing pilot of justice. Mortal laws are administered by mortal men. Neither is infallible. Till the day I die, I cannot and will not leave my heart in the robing room.
Very aptly phrased, Nottingham. But I have not at any time, as you imply, claimed that the criminal law is an infallible instrument. This, however, I will claim, that in this country it approaches as near perfection as is humanly possible. The law is always right. Always. I believed this. Believed it with all my heart. And soon, sooner than I imagined possible, my belief was to be tested. It began that very night, that very hour. The club porter told me a man insisted on talking to me, a stranger. I would have refused, but the name he gave awakened an unnerving echo from my past life. The man gave the name of Teal.
Teal's my name, Sir Francis. T-E-A-L.
Teal?
Yes, Sir Francis. It should be familiar to you.
I've never seen you in my life.
No. No, of course you haven't. I've seen you, though. Many times. I saw you recently in your court, passing another sentence of death. The hanging judge, eh?
I think I must ask you to go.
Oh, no, Sir Francis, you can't do that. Not to me. I've such a lot to say to you. Do you remember the name of Teal? That's my name. And remember this? This signet ring? You surely remember that.
We can't talk here.
Oh, I quite understand. It's not wise for you to be seen talking to me in your club, is it? Much better if I came to, Moxton. Eh, Mr. Bainbridge?
What's that? What do you know of Moxton? How the devil did you know about Bainbridge?
That's quite a little story. But it would be much better to talk to you there, wouldn't it?
Well, as you seem to know the whereabouts of my house in Norfolk, and my incognito, heaven knows how, well, you'd better come there. I suggest Friday, the day after tomorrow at 9 in the evening. Moxton. So this man knew of my country retreat. even knew the name I used, Bainbridge, to hide my true identity in that small Norfolk village. I hoped he didn't know anything about my servant, about Mary Reddish.
Oh, it's good to have you back at Moxton, Freddie boy. I've missed you, you know, dearie.
I've missed you too, my dear.
I'm glad. Come on, drink up your tankard of port and...
I say, is this the old tankard I bought in Sutton Thorpe?
The same. I shined it up for you with something the jeweller sold me. You like it?
Thank you, my dear. Oh, the peace of this place. Thank God for it. And for you, my sweet.
I suppose it does make a nice change after teaching all those little boys in wherever it is your school is.
Mary, I've told you not to
Oh,
ask.
I don't mind where it is as long as you come back to me. More often, though, I should like. Must you really work tonight? You don't usually when you come to Moxham.
I'm afraid I must. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you to go home early tonight.
Oh, Freddie, darling, surely...
No, Mary, my love, really, you must go. It isn't just ordinary work I could put off until tomorrow. To tell you the truth, a man is coming to see me, and I must talk to him alone. It's a confidential matter. He's a poor fellow who's out of work, and I want to help him. So do run along.
Well, all right, if I have to. I'll see you in the morning, my dear.
9 o'clock. You're very punctual, Teal.
That's right, Mr. Bainbridge.
You will address me as Sir Francis. I'll give you exactly 10 minutes in which to state your business.
May I sit down?
I suppose so.
Thank you. My heart's not strong. Name of Teal hasn't a pleasant memory for you, has it? I haven't been out of your mind one moment for 3 days, have I?
I believe you are an impostor. You've made a clumsy allusion to a friendship I had for a certain Mabel Teal 30 years ago. From what you know, pretend to know, you expect some gain. But remember, the law is terrible for the blackmailer, and it properly protects the victim.
But there's no blackmail. I want from you exactly nothing.
What?
Panic again, Sir Francis? You don't like panic. You're very severe with those who suffer panic. When you hanged Gosling, you told the jury, panic can presuppose guilt as well as innocence. Yes, you see, I quote you accurately.
That is what I said.
Could an innocent man have disposed of the girl's body in such a brutish, callous manner? Yes. How you pounced on that.
It was the action of a guilty man.
A frightened boy, Mr. Justice, who watched a girl stab herself to death.
The theory of suicide was preposterous.
Of course. You don't believe there could be suicides when murder's suggested. I hope you're right.
What do you mean?
Oh, I know you well. Day after day I've sat in your court, and I've learned much. 4 times in 6 months I've watched you send men to the rope.
I will not listen to these ravings.
Were all 4 really guilty, Sir Francis? Was there no reasonable doubt at all?
None, in my mind. 2 of them signed confessions.
That was comfortable for you, Mr. Justice. Were you proud? Confessions are soft pillows for the head of justice. But the guilty don't confess. They're too strong. Fright and despair bring confessions. The 2 who confessed were weaklings, not very likable, like you. Oh, you're hated well.
You are quite mad.
Perhaps. Yes, perhaps. No, don't touch the telephone. A madman can be safe behind bars, but I'm cleverer than you, so don't telephone. There isn't time.
For God's sake, who are you?
The hanging judge gets his verdict. Just the facts and no emotion. The beautiful machine. You're not used to fear, Britain. You've not felt fear for 30 years, but you did then. I know. Because I have your letters. Look, here they are, squalid, fearful letters of a coward, written to Mabel Teal, who was my mother.
No. No.
Here, take them. Read them, Britain. Read them. Refresh your recollection, as you say. Yes, Britain, I'm your son. Your son and Mabel Teal's.
I don't believe you.
You can't believe. You can only think.
These letters are fakes.
Don't bluff, Britain.
Why have you waited all these years?
My mother died 1 year ago. She kept her secret till the end. She was a fool. You remember now, Britain? Remember your terror? Now, that last one, no, you didn't write that. You've never seen that one. It was written to me 1 year ago by a foolish old woman, almost your age. But she hadn't had an easy life like you. She was sick and dying. Then she... Oh, Lord, my heart. Not yet, please. God, not yet.
What is it, man? Your heart. What can I do?
There's a capsule here.
Yes. Yes, take it. Here, drink this brandy.
No. I'll be all right in a minute.
Does this thing often happen? Lucky you had that capsule in your pocket there. Are you all right now?
It's passing. Angina. I'm prepared for that. I shan't go that way. You can't be rid of me that easily. My plan's different.
You're sick in mind and body. You should be under proper care.
Don't try kindness, Sir Francis. That's no part of you. I know because I'm just like you. Just as cold, just as bitter, as ruthless. It's in the family, you see.
Why have you waited a year to see me?
I wasn't ready. I've been preparing my first and only case, the Britain case, and it's a good one. I'm prosecutor and judge, and you, Mr. Justice, are in the dock. You're indicted for the crime of being without a soul, for the crime of being unloved, for the crime of being without faith, not even in your law. Have you ever had tears in your eyes? The only emotion you ever had was in the writing of those letters. Emotion? No. Panic? You've panicked before, and you will again. You've missed that feeling since, haven't you, Mr. Justice? No feelings left, just a brain, just reason. That's too bad. It's a crime to be like that. But I can help you, and I will. Filial gratitude, my father. I can give you that feeling of panic and terror that you've always scorned, and I will.
Stop!
For I hate you, Britain, because you're like me, because you gave me life. I loathe you beyond man's belief.
Teal!
Quick, there's a capsule in my waistcoat pocket. The right one.
Where? Oh, yes, I have it.
Give it to me. Put it into my mouth. Into my mouth.
Here. Now swallow this. Wash it down. Have you swallowed the capsule?
Yes. I've swallowed it. Thank you.
Why, you're...
Yes, I'm all right. There's nothing wrong with my heart. But that capsule was poison.
Poison?
Yes, and you gave it to me. You put it into my mouth with your own hands. You poisoned me. In a few minutes, a few short moments, I'll be dead, here in your house, and you did it. And that's murder, Mr. Justice Britain. Murder. And now what'll you do, eh? I wonder.
Headlines in every paper. Suspected murder at Moxton. Body found in well. Police seek mystery man Bainbridge. Well, once I arrive back in London, they'll never imagine that...
Why, hello, Britain.
What? Oh, why, Ronald Pond. Well,
Didn't expect to see you on this train. Reading this Moxton murder case, eh? Looks like a blackmail job to me. I remember I once defended in a rather similar case.
I doubt if it's blackmail. Probably with the victim's heart weakness, it was natural causes.
Oh, no. Even in fiction, heart attacks aren't timed to occur conveniently on the parapets of wells. Anyway, I've seen no mention of the dead man having a weak heart.
I seem to remember something to that effect. When is the inquest?
Friday, I believe. There's no autopsy report on the body yet. I say, you'll be on circuit in the autumn, won't you? It'd be interesting if you had to try the Bainbridge case, wouldn't it?
It would be, Pond. Very interesting.
Hello, Archer. I'm surprised to see you in the club today. As Chief Constable of Norfolk, I thought you'd be up to your eyes in this body in the well business.
So I am, Sidney, so I am. I'm in London now to confer with Scotland Yard about it. I'm pretty sure this missing man, Bainbridge, is our murderer.
Tell me about him.
Nobody seems to know much about him in the district. He's a school teacher, only goes there on vacations. He had a rather unsavory reputation as far as his servant was concerned.
What about this fellow Teal, who was found in the well?
Another mystery man. We only know he was Bainbridge's first visitor ever. Disappeared the day he went to see Bainbridge. Found 19 days later at the bottom of the well. But death wasn't from drowning, no water in the lungs. And apparently not from bashing either. He only had superficial marks from the drop. We're still waiting for a post-mortem report on the stomach.
What did you find on the body?
I shouldn't do this, but... Well, look at these photostats. They were found in a sort of secret pocket in Teal's coat, wrapped in oilskin, so they're not too badly damaged. First one's a copy of a birth certificate. Notice the parents' names.
Francis Mabel Teal. Frederick Bainbridge. Well...
And the date. Some 30 years ago. About Teal's age, according to the doctor. The others are photostats of a series of letters about the same period, and they tell a sordid little story. All from Bainbridge to a woman Teal. Love letters first, then a couple expressing shock at the news that she's expecting a child. Then annoyance when she apparently told him that she wouldn't do anything to prevent it. And finally, a week later, this. My dear Mabel, I am shocked and surprised. I must repudiate all responsibility, and so on, so on. I think it would be undesirable for us to meet again. Sincerely, F.B.
Dirty dog. I see why you want to find your elusive Bainbridge. Swine. Was he questioned at all between the time Teal was reported missing and the finding of his body in the well in Bainbridge's garden?
Oh, Lord, yes. I went to see him myself.
What's he like?
Rather fine-looking chap. Rising 60, I should think. Acts like a man used to authority. Rather truculent. Following day, he disappeared, and we can't find any trace... Good Lord.
What's up?
Look. Coming into the club now.
Hmm? Oh, that's Sir Francis Britton, High Court Judge.
But...
Haven't you met him? I'll call him over. Oh, Judge.
Oh, hello, Sidney.
This is Colonel Archer. He's trying to drum up some business for you.
How do you do?
I believe we've met before, Sir Francis.
Really? I don't remember.
No?
Oh, of course. It was at Moxton. You came to see me about the disappearance of that poor vagrant... what was his name?
Teal.
Yes, Teal. I can understand the Colonel's confusion, Sidney. He met me at my Norfolk house under the name of Bainbridge, which I used to ensure privacy during my leisure time.
Good God.
I'm glad you've admitted that. Sir Francis, this is a very unpleasant task for me. I must ask you to accompany me to Scotland Yard for questioning on the matter of the death of John Teal.
I realize my position is an equivocal one. One pays dearly for the privilege of privacy, doesn't one? I prefer to say nothing at this stage. My solicitor, Sir Ronald Pond, is in the club at this moment. I should like to consult him before anything further is done.
Very well.
Thank you very much, Colonel Archer.
Thank you very much, Major West. I appreciate your cooperation.
Well, it's quite all right. I'll be around straight away.
Yes, thank you. Goodbye. Well, Francis, we've dodged a rather ugly situation rather neatly, I think. West at the Home Office has just promised that the police will hold their hand as far as you're concerned, for the time being.
Hold their hand? Damnation, Pond, you talk as if there were a case against me.
Now, steady, Francis. I realize you're innocent, but since you admit you're Bainbridge, there is a case against you. How strong, we don't know. But West will be here in a few minutes.
It's intolerable that I should have been subjected to that humiliating experience with Archer.
I'd swallow my indignation if I were you. I must be clear about one thing before West comes. When the report came out that the body had been found, why didn't you go to the police? Such an action would have made your position quite secure.
I had already told Archer all I knew. I felt sure my identity as Bainbridge could never be traced to me as Britton. I couldn't have foreseen this confounded encounter with Archer in the club.
I see. It was a bad mistake.
But not necessarily evidence of guilt.
Similar circumstances have sometimes been so interpreted from the bench, Francis.
What the devil do you mean, Pond? I'm not on trial.
We'll try to see to it that you won't be. What did you say to Archer when he questioned you about the missing man at Moxton?
I merely gave a brief account of Teal's visit to me. That he was a man who had done me a service some years ago, and that I'd since given him financial help occasionally. I described him as being extremely overwrought at the time. I think I mentioned the possibility of suicide being in his mind.
Well, we must wait until West arrives and lets us know what sort of case the police think they have against you.
There's no question, Britton, that the police have a sort of case against you, Bainbridge. But it will not be pressed at this time.
I don't like that, West.
What is the case, Major?
The main points are that the man died of cyanide poisoning.
What's that? Poison?
Home Office analyst report just came in. And some letters were found on the body.
What letters? There could... go on.
They seem to point to a blackmail attempt against Bainbridge, which implies a possible motive for Bainbridge to get rid of the fellow.
Not a strong case, I'd say.
Well, Fellows of the Yard is inclined to agree. He thinks the facts rather indicate suicide.
So you're having them hold off Sir Francis, Major?
Yes. It would be appalling to subject the judge to the humiliation of clearing himself, when the chances are that the case, after all, is suicide.
What of the inquest?
Oh, on no account must you appear. I see no reason on God's earth to drag you through the mud defending yourself, and a scandal to the bench must be avoided.
Britain, have you seen this in the stop press of the Globe?
What is it, Lamprey?
Listen. The missing man Bainbridge in the body in the well case has been identified as Sir Francis Britton, the High Court judge.
Good Lord. Somebody's talked.
But who?
Sidney did it.
Sir George Sidney? But why?
Because he hates me. I have given judgments against his interest in industrial cases, and he was present when Archer recognized me. Gentlemen, I shall attend the inquest and present the facts as I know them.
This is the BBC. Here is the special news bulletin. In the House of Commons, the Prime Minister has offered time for a debate and a free vote on the question of the removal of Justice Sir Francis Britton from the bench. The motion for Britton's removal was vehemently proposed by Sir George Sidney. The date set for the debate in the House is the day after tomorrow.
Lamprey, where's Britton? I can't find him. He's not at his house or here in the club. I've got to tell him if he's not out of the country by midnight, he's to be arrested.
What? But, Pond, the government's discussing the whole business the day after tomorrow. Nothing can happen till then.
That's all changed. The Britton case is open again.
Good Lord, but he can't run away. He must stay and fight it.
The police have a strong case. I've discovered off the record that they found some cyanide crystals on the carpet in his house at Moxton. He's got to get out of the country. I've withdrawn his securities from the bank, got him a place on the 11:30 plane for Amsterdam, and his passport is in order. I've had this flight in mind since the first sign of trouble.
But if Britain runs away, his career's finished. Besides, they can always extradite him.
His career's over anyway. But he can rest assured that once he's abroad, they'll let him alone. They won't want to wash any High Court dirty linen in public, so...
there you are, Pond. I've been looking for you.
Ah, Britain.
You've been looking for me. Where the devil have you been since I called you at 6? It's now 10:30.
Be calm, Pond. I've heard about this debate on removing me from the bench. I can't stand that, Pond. I've made up my mind.
Listen to me, Francis. There isn't a second to lose. There will be no debate. We haven't a friend left. You have until midnight to leave the country. If you don't, the police will act on the original warrant. I have a ticket for the 11:30 plane from Croydon to Amsterdam. You've less than an hour to get to the airport.
I have made up my mind.
I'm sorry, Francis. I've just come from the Home Office. It's the best they can do. You have West's personal promise there will be no arrest before midnight.
No, Pond. Why should I give in and run? I'll face it out here, ridiculous as the charge is. The law must take its course. I'm sick of all this. I have no alternative but to give myself up. I have faith in the law. My life is in no danger, but my future is at stake.
You have no future if you remain here.
If I stand my trial under English law, I would embarrass the government. Is that it?
Francis, I hope not to have to tell you this, but... Well, bluntly, if you stand your trial, the Crown will be very unpleasant about that servant girl of yours.
Mary? They'd go as far as that.
And you know what the newspapers would do about it. Francis, you owe it to your own profession. There are times when individual interests must go by the board. Can't you see that?
I'll accept your suggestion, Pond. I will leave the country before midnight.
So there it is, Sidney. We've got a complete case against Britain. A prima facie case of poisoning. Definitely not suicide. We can establish motive. The dead man attempted blackmail, and we can prove opportunity. And now, a final piece of evidence has just turned up tonight.
What's that, Archer?
The club porter has recalled that about a month ago, a man called to see Britain, here in the club. Gave his name as Teal, even spelt it, T-E-A-L.
What? Then that means...
It means, my dear Nottingham, that we now know that Britain definitely knew the identity of his visitor at Moxton, and probably the purpose of his visit. From there, it will be simple to prove premeditation of the crime.
Hell's bells. Britain's hung many a poor wretch with half the case you've got against him.
But what's the use of all this, knowing all this, when Britain's being allowed to quietly sneak out of the country before midnight?
Come, Keith, you don't give sufficient credit to me as a hound of the law.
You, Sidney?
Me. When I learned that our dear Home Secretary had agreed to a European sanctuary for friend Britain, and had borrowed the First Lord's telescope to clap to his blind eye as far as the 11:30 plane from Croydon was concerned, I took the necessary steps to prevent the defeat of justice.
What the devil are you getting at?
Archer knows. Archer, where are Inspector Vincent and Sergeant Scotton at this moment?
Exactly 11:30. They've trailed Britain to Croydon. They'll be there now. Of course, they've been given orders not to lay a hand on him before midnight.
And by midnight, he'll be well on his way to Holland, right out of reach.
My dear Nottingham, the 11:30 plane from Croydon has a choked feed pipe.
What? How do you know?
I'm not a director of Imperial Airlines for nothing. It takes a devil of a long time to unchoke a feed pipe. At precisely 1 minute past midnight, Sir Francis Britton will be arrested at Croydon Airport for the murder of John Teal.
And so the curtain falls on Act 1 of tonight's Caltex play, The Trial of a Judge.
Next time you fill your tank with gasoline, fill up with new power, new performance, new economy. Fill up with Caltex butane-boosted gasoline. That's the gasoline made to take better care of your car's performance. Designed for today's faster pace. Caltex butane-boosted gasoline at the sign of the Caltex star, where we take better care of your car.
The Caltex Theatre now presents Kevin Brennan in The Trial of a Judge, Act 2.
Midnight? What is wrong with that plane?
Ladies
Why
and
can't...
gentlemen, your attention, please. The flight which was scheduled for 11:30 is now ready to leave. Will passengers kindly board the aircraft for flight K372 for Amsterdam?
Oh, thank heaven, just
Ladies
in
and
time.
gentlemen, your attention,
Only
please.
just.
Your ticket, please.
Here you are.
Thank you, sir.
Is now ready to leave.
Seat number 17 on the
Passengers
left.
kindly
Just a minute.
board the aircraft for flight K372
Sir Francis
for
Britton?
Yes?
Francis Britton, you are under arrest on the charge of murder. I warn you that anything you say may be used in evidence. Come with me.
Oh, Lord Pond, I'm tired. 3 days of this trial, it's been a load.
Yes. Anyway, the Crown's finished now. Lemtre, what would you think Britain has on his mind to prompt him to send for us?
A length of hemp rope, I imagine. We've waited a long while in this cold visitor's room. I hate iron bars and stone. Oh, where the devil can Britain be?
Somewhere in this jail, unless he's a phenomenally skillful athlete.
If only he hadn't made me admit those letters. And those cyanide crystals on the carpet are going to be hard to get past.
Britain's honesty is our main hope. He seemed to impress the jury by not trying to conceal anything.
Ah, the guard's bringing him now.
Hello, Francis. I don't think we did too badly today.
Don't pretend. It's an appallingly strong case against me. The Crown will grind me to pieces with those letters.
Then why didn't you let us fight them? We had a handwriting expert.
Because the truth is that I did write them. My only defense must be the truth. Lamprey, remember that. Teal committed suicide.
Yes, that's a defense theory. But hypothetical solutions...
It isn't hypothetical. No, it isn't. I tell you now, I have committed perjury. Teal did not leave my house alive. I saw him die.
You what? You don't know what you say.
He had 2 seizures. Attacks of apparently violent pain. During the first, he took a tablet, a capsule from his left-hand pocket, which seemed to relieve him. He explained he had angina pectoris. A second seizure came. He was helpless. He asked me to administer another capsule. I did so. He made me take it from his right-hand pocket and put it in his mouth. That was the poison. He'd planned it all. He was dead in a few minutes.
Good Lord. What happened after he died?
I thought what to do for a long time. First, I wanted to phone the police, but I thought... I didn't do that. I examined the body. I made sure he was dead, and then I took the letters he had shown me and burned them. And then, long afterwards, I dragged the body out to the well and dropped it in.
You didn't find the wallet with the copies of the letters?
No, of course not.
Why on earth didn't you call the police?
Can't you see? I have persuaded juries to send men to the gallows for such acts. Brutish and deliberate, I have called it. Yet I could have told them what panic does to men. Panic made me write a letter once. You heard it read in court. Panic isn't a sudden horror, not always. It can be a creeping thing. I watched Teal's body most of the night. I dropped it into the well at 4 in the morning. Sometimes I had the telephone in my hand, but gradually it became too late to telephone. You may not believe me nor understand me.
Go on.
Fear gave place to reason. I was Frederick Bainbridge as I stared at that body. It was Bainbridge who was in danger, not Britain. I still could flee to the safety of my own name. That is why I followed the course of the cheap killer. I believed it.
Francis, you must know that this throws our whole defense out the window.
It's the truth, Pond. Now it's only the truth.
Why have you waited so long to tell us of this fact?
How many times have I asked that question? Ask it of some quivering wretch like myself. It's a stupid question and unanswerable.
Coming at this point, you know it must go against you. Why don't you let...
My only hope is to prove Teal died by his own intention and I saw him die. I do not believe the truth can ever convict an innocent man in this country, under the law of England.
Hello there, Nottingham. Sorry to ask you to meet me here at the club and then keep you waiting.
Oh, that's all right, Sidney. Glad of a bit of relaxation. Prosecuting Britain has been a strenuous job so far. What kept you, anyway?
Had to stop at Chelmsford to visit the laboratories of United Chemicals. That's why I want to see you.
What have I got to do with United Chemicals?
Leading question, old boy. Bad examination. You should know better. Let the witness ramble on in his own inimitable way.
Oh, Sidney, for heaven's sake.
A bit edgy, eh? Is it possible that Britain's latest fantasy disturbed you? As it did me?
You mean his story of suicide? Seeing Teal die?
You think I used the right word? Fantasy?
The right word, yes. I don't believe it, of course. But I'd rather not discuss this.
You'd be wise to, my dear Keith. At any moment, I may disclose a fact. And what lawyer can resist a big, succulent fact?
What fact?
First, an opinion that may interest you. I, for one, probably the only one, happen to believe Britain's story.
What? You believe Britain?
Yes. What guilty man could make up that fairy tale? I put the capsule into his mouth. That was the poison I didn't know. Those were his words, Keith. And he had to admit perjury to say them. Perjury, the lawyer's mortal sin.
But no man like Britain could be a panic-stricken fool.
Quoting Mr. Justice Britain makes you feel more secure, eh, old boy? Uneasy lies the head that's for the crown, eh? Keith, if you found out that one of your witnesses for the prosecution knew something vital to the case, something which had not yet come out in evidence, what would you do?
Recall him tomorrow and produce the testimony.
Regardless of the fact that what comes out might work for the defense?
I am an officer of the court. I can withhold nothing, no matter what the result.
Thank you. I was sure you'd say that. Lamprey Pond would have run away from it. Keith, here's your fact coming up. I know how the cyanide crystals got onto the carpet.
How?
Just a moment. Will you come in, please, Mary?
Thank you, Sir George.
Mary Reddish. Sidney, you're mad, tampering with a witness. What does she know?
Mary, I want you to answer the questions I ask you, just as you did when we met at Moxton.
In front of this gentleman, sir?
Trust me. You do, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Good. Mary, how did the cyanide crystals get onto the carpet?
They spilled when I was cleaning the mug.
What mug?
The big silver tankard that Sir Francis asked me to clean while he was away.
What did you clean it with?
Some stuff in a bottle that I got from Mr. Arnold, the jeweller.
And what did he tell you about it?
He said, it'll shine horseshoes, but don't give it to the cat.
And what did he say was in the bottle when you went back yesterday and asked him?
He said it was a solution of 1 in 8 of cyanide of...
Potassium?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him why you wanted the cleaner?
Yes, to clean a silver mug.
And what did you do with the bottle afterwards?
It was empty, so I threw it on the rubbish heap.
Your witness, Nottingham?
Why didn't you tell us this before?
I didn't know what was in the bottle. I didn't think it was important. And then I got to thinking, and I remembered what the jeweller said about the cat. Oh, sir, this might be bad for him. Everything I've said so far has been bad for him.
Miss Reddish, you may have saved Sir Francis. You've certainly done him no harm. Here, go along and wait in my car downstairs. Go along. There's a good girl.
Thank you, Sir George.
Well, Keith, what are you going to do about that?
I've got a job to do, and I'm out for a conviction.
So speaks a lawyer with a heart.
Would cyanide in solution leave crystal traces when it evaporated? A month or so later?
Too bad for the Crown, Keith. It would. That's why I stopped at Chelmsford. I'm not a director of United Chemicals for nothing. I got our chief analyst to tell me that it would. And there's evidence that the solution was used on the mug. The mug, by the way, is downstairs in my car.
This is extraordinary. It may get him off. But it could also be used as proof of possession of the poison. If the jury believe that girl, then Britain's acquitted. But if they don't, and she's about as tarnished as the mug you talk about, then Britain will hang, and perhaps she will too. I could only bring out her story in direct examination. Lamprey will leave her alone, of course. And that evidence is better for Britain coming from the prosecution. You clever swine. I'll telephone this jeweller. What's his name?
Arnold. Bill Arnold. And he's downstairs in my car, too. If I'd been in Moxton much longer, I'd have needed a bus. You lazy lawyers. Can't find your own evidence.
Hello, Condon. Archer speaking. Yes, I'm still at the club, but I'm leaving shortly for Norwich. Well, it's just gone midnight. I'll be at the jail in 2 hours before the time for the execution, about 7. No news. I'm quite certain there won't be a stay. I was at the Home Office just an hour ago. What? Oh, has he? Yes, I understand. Oh, very good, Condon. I'll see you at 7.
Something new, Archer?
Britain has just asked to see the governor again. Well, Sidney, I'm going there now.
At this hour?
I I'd rather drive tonight than try to sleep. I'm not exactly at ease in this place, Sidney, in spite of your hospitality, and... Oh, Lord, I suppose we got what we wanted, but...
I speak for yourself.
I'm only a policeman. That's a simple job, but not a pleasant one now. 9 hours to go. Poor devil. Pond and Lamprey will be along any minute, I expect, and they won't have accomplished much with the Home Secretary.
Evening, Archie. Evening, Sidney.
Hello, Nottingham.
Keith, you were still in the club? I thought you'd gone home.
I should get some sleep. It's all been a strain. Oh, but I don't know. Somehow...
I suppose they'll give him a sedative or something to see him through.
Oh, yes, yes. The governor of the jail was with him 2 hours ago, Nottingham. He's about the same.
Have you seen him?
Yes, this morning. Condon took me to have a look at him. Confidentially, the Home Office wanted some sort of layman's opinion about his condition. Pond has been trying for a stay of execution on mental grounds. A couple of specialists have seen him.
What is his condition?
Nothing to stop us from going ahead.
Yes, Keith, you wanted a conviction and you got it. And you made it stick.
Blast you, Sidney. I've had enough of that.
Your own words, old man, delivered right here in this room. And what has the defense accomplished, apart from failing to impress 12 of the usual clods?
There's nothing on God's green earth that we or you can do now. We may as well admit it.
Oh, hello, Lamprey. Pond. No success?
None. The end is only hours away.
Well, my conscience is clear. I've done everything I could.
I think we can both rest easy on that score.
Oh, to blazes with you and your damned consciences. Don't forget, West lost his position as Home Secretary for trying to hush up the Britain case. Naturally, his successor isn't going to lead with his chin by granting a reprieve.
I see, Lamprey. There's a letter or something in the rack for you.
Oh, thanks. Must have come in since dinner time. Mind you, Sidney, Britain's being a judge has been against him all along. Any bricklayer or butcher would have stood a much better chance.
Britain's being damned unpopular has fixed him. No petition to worry about this time. Let's face it, if we'd got a reprieve for him, there'd have been an outcry such as changes governments.
Just as I thought. Another crank letter. I've had dozens of them.
Threatening you if you got Britain off, I imagine.
Yes, most of them. But this one's for the defence. Here, listen to this. The Defence Counsel for Sir Francis Britton, whoever you may be, you will be right in your defence. The suicide theory is correct.
Fine time for encouragement.
But as you won't believe in it yourself, you will fail. Britain will panic.
Oh, for heaven's sake, tear the damn thing up.
No, go on.
Lies are easy at first and bodies can be hidden, and Britain will only tell the truth when it is too late and even the truth becomes a lie. The truth that John Teal swallowed poison before Britain's eyes.
What's that? Don't waste time with that gibberish.
Let me look at it.
I agree with you, Pond. If we listen to every damn crank who want to interfere...
That letter doesn't sound like a crank somehow.
It isn't. Look for yourself. Let me get at that telephone. Look at it, Keith. Notice the signature?
Show me. John Teal.
Good Lord! But how could it
Hello,
be?
Switch. Get me Trunks, quickly.
Not so fast. It's probably a fake. How can we verify it?
There's enough for a stay.
Of course there is.
Hello, Trunks. Hello. Last rotten service.
Good Lord. Here's a set of fingerprints inside, and a postscript.
I didn't see that. What's it say?
My fingerprints are to be found in the files of the Harden Mental Home in Lancashire under the name of John Leet.
That's all we needed. Now we can... Hello, Trunks?
Who are you calling?
Trunks, get me Norwich Jail. This is a police emergency.
We should ring the Home Office.
To Hades with the Home Office. I'm saving him from a night's agony.
The Home Secretary is the only person who can stop this.
Well, go and get him on the outside line in the hall if you're so keen.
All right, I will, right away.
Sidney, if this letter's a fake, this is the cruelest thing you could do to give Britain hope.
Of course it's not a fake. Who posted it for Teal after his death, we don't know. But it's no fake, I'll swear to that. And I'm the one who nearly put him on the gibbet. Lord.
Teal thought of everything. If Britain was convicted, this letter was not to be delivered until the eve of the execution. It's the most fiendish thing I've ever known. Our problem will be to find the Home Secretary soon enough. If Pond doesn't get on to him now...
Hello, is that Norwich Jail? I'm Sir George Sidney. I want to speak to the governor. It's urgent. All right, but please hurry.
Who did you speak to?
The warder. The governor's with Britain now. Archer, take the phone. You'd better speak to him.
The Home Secretary is on his way to the country. They won't tell me where. He left in his car half an hour ago. He's on the road somewhere. Archer, it's up to you.
All right, we'll find him somehow.
Hello, is that the governor? I'll put Colonel Archer on.
Thanks. Hello, Condon. This is Archer. We've just received a letter which I believe genuine and which proves Britain's innocence. Yes, I know it's a matter for the Home Secretary. We're getting him. But whatever happens, hold off until... What? What?
What is it?
What's wrong? Just a minute. You can't mean it. Well, hold off till you hear from the Home Office.
Archer, what's happened?
Britain has just signed a confession.
What?
It reads, I was fairly tried, judged, fairly sentenced. We live by law.
The case is always greater than the man. The judge, the jury, the Court of Criminal Appeal, they cannot all be wrong. I do not remember, but I see now that I must have committed the crime. That's what Britain signed, gentlemen, a full confession. Hard to figure out in view of what we now know.
Governor, how was he when he wrote this?
All right, in the circumstances.
What do you mean, Condon? Britain's well, isn't he?
Yes, well enough, but he seems numb, listless. After his appeal, he was master of himself, absolutely confident. But since that failed, he's been a shell of a man. His mind seems a blank.
You mean that now he's insane?
Oh, no, he's sane. Sane enough for us to have gone ahead yesterday if you hadn't stopped the execution. But he doesn't seem to take things in. I should be cautious in the way you tell him your news. We're dealing with a man whose state of mind I, frankly, cannot understand.
Prisoner Britton is here, sir.
Thank you, Warder. Come in, Sir Francis. Please sit down.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Britton, your torture's over.
Wait, Sidney.
Yes, Sidney, it is nearly over. Governor, why has there been a stay? Why have you sent for me, sir? You have my confession. There was one reason to leave my cell. That was to be the end. That time was yesterday. Is there more interference in this case?
We have good news for you.
This case is closed. Just the end remains. The law does not torture. There should be no delay.
These friends of yours, the solicitor and Sir George Sidney, they've come to tell you themselves.
Yes, Francis. The letter was delivered to us yesterday, in time, thank goodness, written by the dead man Teal, in which he states his intention of killing himself in your presence.
This letter was verified by Scotland Yard. And your pardon, Britton. A free pardon.
Teal's plan. No, a pardon. I can't bear that. That means the law was wrong. That is what I've feared. This must not be a sham.
Britton, you must believe us.
I do believe you. That is my horror.
It was suicide. Just as you said, Britton. He didn't want to kill you. He wanted to torture you up to the moment of death. He was callous, ruthless, cruel. A fiend.
He was my son, and he is one. I am pardoned. Even by law he is one. I am to live on. That's how he planned it, that I should betray everything I believed, by panic, lies, treachery, be fairly tried, condemned, and yet have no release.
Britton, I know mistakes have been made, muddling all round shortcuts, but an innocent man's been saved from the gallows. Human feelings have had a chance. Isn't that justice?
No! Human feelings have turned justice into a farce. Human feelings cannot be trusted. That's why we have the law. Better an innocent man should die than that the law be made a fake. The case is always greater than the man. I was fairly tried, rightly condemned. I signed my confession, one final lie. That would have been my secret. It would have set the pattern right. Instead, I am condemned to live. I wish that I were dead. My living makes a mockery of the faith I held. Teal has won. I have had judgment, and that judgment is denied me. Teal has won. I'm sentenced to live. Teal has won. Teal!
So ends our Caltex play, The Trial of a Judge. In a moment, we will give you tonight's cast and tell you about next week's presentation in the Caltex Theatre. The Trial of a Judge was adapted for radio by David Netheim from the play The Hanging Judge, written by Raymond Massey. In the starring role, you heard Kevin Brennan as the judge, Sir Francis Britton. The supporting cast was as follows: Major Gilbert West, Ivan Vander; Sir George Sidney, James Mills; Miles Lamprey, Lionel Stevens, Colonel George Archer, Barry Faber, Sir Keith Nottingham, Leonard Bullen, John Teal, David Netheim, Mary Reddish, Queenie Ashton, Sir Ronald Pond, Alan White, the Governor, Colin McAllister. Now, this is your compere, Rick Hutton, bidding you good night. On behalf of your hosts, Caltex Oil, marketers of Caltex Super Gasoline and Caltex Gasoline, the world-famous RPM 1030 Special Motor Oil, and Marfac Lubrication.